You have habits just like me. Talk too much with strangers. Get way too serious around family. And I don't have any wishes, but when I kiss you, our lips fit well. And I don't have expectations, but when I daydream, I fall asleep. And our hands melt. It started out as teasing, but I had deeper meaning when I touched your chest. Now I don't know how to act, but if I did, and I don't have any wishes, but when I kiss you, our lips fit well. And I don't have expectations, but when I daydream, I fall asleep. And our hands melt. But if I did, and I don't have wishes, our lips fit well. And I don't have expectations, but when I daydream, I fall asleep. And our hands melt.
I think I need therapy or just some more whiskey. I can't seem to understand how you do this to me. You've been running in circles inside my head. Wasn't looking for love, but baby, I found you instead. I didn't know I was a casualty until you stopped my heart and you made me see I need love. mess. I can't seem to understand how you got all that finesse. Still been running in circles inside my head. Wasn't looking for love, but baby, I found you instead.
Take it too far to say that we cannot pretend now. Was it never enough to have just everything you want? In your shadow I found a place to hide me from my own thoughts. And if I ever got lost, you find a way to bring me home. And I want something I can hold, that's worth this waiting cold. And I want something that is real, something to make me feel alive.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen, here to week number 2 of the winter split here for the grid. This is, of course, Alpine Esports rendition. I am your host, Wade Dreadnought Penfold, and with me, as always, we got ourselves a Isaac Turtle app. You may be wondering what, in fact, happened to F. Dot. Not here to be able to slay the intros and everything else. He's going to be gone this week. He had some other obligations, so we are going to miss him. But I do believe he's going to be back with us here tomorrow. So we won't be gone for too long. But today's grid is a special one in the fact that we do have an MNVL field trip. The MNVL is a high school esports league that happens here in Minnesota and something that Alpine wants to support and endorse. So welcome everybody coming over from the MNVL. Thank you very much here for tuning in. And Turtle, it's been a little bit, man. How you been?
Oh, yeah. I've been great, man. I mean, we don't have F. Dot. We have you here, the better looking version of me. Everything's looking great. We got the field trip as well from MNVL, which, I mean, you briefly have been talking to me about this. This is a whole new idea and organization that I'm just now starting to get used to. But everything that I'm seeing, all the missions, what everybody's looking to complete, and the purpose of it has just been amazing. And it's really opened my eyes to the possibilities that the younger generation has received.
Yeah, it's super exciting, and just to give a quick synopsis, if you will, for anybody hearing about this for the very first time of what the MMVL is. Again, it's the Minnesota Varsity League, which is home for Minnesota high school esports, creating an opportunity for students to advance in esports skills and competition and the industry, belong to a community, and compete at the varsity level. This is actually the second season, I believe, for the MNVL. It started after it started in the winter of 2020, and it runs year round, actually, which I think is a super excited thing about it. Having the opportunity to have the main seasons within the fall and the spring, and then the off-season events in winter and summer. And, for anybody, if you are in Minnesota in the high school range and you want to be involved, luckily for you, that registration is actually coming up for the next season, the spring season specifically, on March 22nd of 2021. It starts on March 22nd. The registration opens in February. So be looking out for that for anybody who's interested. And, I think the coolest thing about it is, we were talking about this a little bit, but just from my perspective, right? Like esports wasn't a thing when I was in high school. And I think it was probably a little bit closer to a thing when you were in high school. So maybe I'm coming off as a detached boomer here. But to have an opportunity and a group of individuals to try and compete with and be involved with on a gaming level is something that I longed for. So seeing that happen on kind of a local level is really exciting for me.
It's still a little bit unique as well, though, because when I was in high school, it was more of, there were clubs that would be like, oh, hey, we're gonna go hang out together and play video games, play Smash Bros, whatever it was, but it was never on an esports level. I'm pretty sure most people didn't even consider esports to be an actual thing. It was more of a joke, really, if you were to toss around that word. Like when I was competing, I didn't even tell people I was competing professionally because nobody really understood how it worked. So to see organizations, especially throughout high school, which is a very important time where you're trying to connect with people, trying to get involved with things. And esports is a fantastic place to go. You can find a home almost anywhere. And I think it's fantastic to see, a company working with these guys to figure out, how they can build a community and how they can get involved, because that's the most fun part about it all. It's just the involvement with people and friends.
Yeah, and that involvement for this broadcast is actually not going to come and end with this. We in fact have a Q&A session that you and I are going to be answering some of the questions submitted by the MNVL community members after the first series of today. And then at the very end of the broadcast, we are in fact going to be having a show match with some of the top players out of the top 4 teams for Rocket League, which that is going to be very exciting. Those guys are honestly,
I'm excited.
Hate to admit it, some of them are better than me, and it hurts my feelings a little bit. I've played this game a little bit too much for that. But in case any of you guys missed any of the MNVL action, don't worry. We actually got you covered here with a quick video.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to MNVL Esports on this Sunday. My name is Thunder McFadden, and I am joined, as always, by my partner in crime, Mr. Skeptor. What's happening, man? How are you today?
Yeah, here goes Minek dribbling the ball up top here. Gonna be able to slam that one home. Great shot from him. And look at this control. It's all him. Hey, don't worry, guys. I got this one. Putting it away. Not much you can do as a Tendi on that one.
I'm telling you right now, that was an absolutely stellar pass to the middle. And to have the cars right there, we talked about rotation. Oh, huge demo on a score!
That is, oh my goodness, look at this. This is the trust from the side of SJP. He says, oh, I missed it, that's okay. My teammates got it, L Bloop's in the back, but no.
El Bloop trying to follow up. King Jake having something to say. Little drop pass maybe. Mr. Math pushing it forward. El Bloop with an opportunity off the crossbar to his boy Mr. Math with the follow-up. Opportunity, El Bloop. Does he have what it takes? Off the backboard, Sam not able to find it. Mr. Math, it's on the doorstep. 10 seconds to play. El Bloop can't find it. Pinsy jumps Barry. 5 seconds to play. Kamate pushing it forward. That's the demolition coming on to Sam. And that's going to be it. Oh, the ball's still up. El Bloop with a second chance. Trying to push it forward, see what he can do. It's going to be tough. Mr. Math, there's an opportunity.
Oh my! Oh my! Oh my! Oh my! You are kidding me!
Cannot be serious right now. We're going into overtime. That is disgusting.
Unbelievable!
It was pretty exciting there, especially El Bloop at the very end of that series with the nice touch, little kiss in there.
We can't even do that. That was
No,
incredible.
dude.
That was unreal, man. Those highlights, I was impressed. I didn't expect those kind of mechanics, but they definitely showed up.
Yeah, it's super, super awesome. And again, something that we are proud to support at Alpine. Again, all the information we said below, be sure to check it out. And again, we'll be answering some of the questions submitted by those community members throughout today as the series goes on. But with all that being said, ladies and gentlemen, it is the grid. And that is what we're going to be focusing on here. Alpine Esports has quite a card for themselves here tonight. With G2, we got ourselves Pittsburgh Knights and Ghosts, which, generally speaking, G2 regarded one of the big four, top four, however you want to phrase it. Definitely going to be a tall tale to be able to take them down. But then Pittsburgh Knights and Ghosts, though they may fall closer within the range of Alpine Esports, recently have had success over this roster. And so I want to know here from you, Turtle, how do you feel like we're going to kind of perform here tonight?
I'm actually really excited because we get the rematch against the Knights, which is what we're looking for, some revenge. If you're a fan of Alpine and you watched the regional event, you know that we dropped down to losers after losing to Ghost Gaming, and then we ended up beating Sonics to move on to fight Pittsburgh Knights. We lost to them the same score as we did Ghost Gaming, so we've got a lot of opportunities tonight for some revenge, but we're going to be going up against G2 to start things off. And I mean, G2 definitely the toughest of them, but if you remember last week, or not necessarily last week, but the first week, which was at the beginning of November, you'll remember, excuse me, that we beat SSG. That was a tough task, and we didn't expect that, but SSG were the ones that we ended up defeating.
That's a good point. So there is, hope, if you will. And, if you've read the Twitter feed of specifically Magic Bear, it seems like there's kind of been a new fire invigorated here below his feet. And so it'll be exciting to see, whether or not that's something that kind of comes to light today in the games, because, the roster of G2 is beyond impressive. I think
it's a tough one.
It's crazy to think about the legacy, I feel like, to some extent, of JNaps and Rizzo and how long they've been able to perform at some of the highest levels. And then you had young rookie of Chicago coming in, I believe it was now 2.5 years ago. And he looked great off of G2. It definitely didn't hurt him to join the ranks of the rest of that roster. And they really haven't taken a step back, a foot off the pedal, if you will, Turtle.
Yeah. Oh, definitely. But to that point, I feel like there might be a little crack in the armor because I just want to keep referencing the Winter Split Regional 1 because I feel like that's the most valid source of information at this point, because coming into the grid, there's so much momentum riding on a lot of these different teams. And for G2, normally they have solid performances that back them up. But it wasn't, the typical, I guess, rampage that we see out of G2 whenever they go up against, difficult teams. I mean, they ended up losing to the Knights, which is the same team that we lost to in the series just before going on to face G2 for the Knights. I mean, it was crazy and very action-packed. So that's what makes me a little bit excited. G2, there's a little shakiness with their playstyle. If we pay attention to any of the games, you could see there was a couple of moments where they'd be a little bit over-aggressive. And I think Alpine, now that we have the momentum, the energy of Magic Bear, you talked about that tweet earlier. I think that's fantastic. Moving in here, he's got a lot of confidence, really. You could tell from that tweet. And I think that going up against G2, they're ready for the challenge.
Yeah, and I think it's a really fair point you brought up that I haven't necessarily realized how interesting that kind of dynamic is, because historically speaking, you would put G2 at the top of our group, but
Right.
then you are right. If you look at the regional, technically seeding of this should be Pittsburgh Knights at the top, then G2 Ghost, and then Alpine
Yeah.
Esports. So, sitting at the bottom and clearly trying to prove themselves, but that is a really huge shift. And the fact that PK was able to take out not only just Alpine, but then that of G2, I think that makes the tale of PK through this series, or through this group, if you will, to be really, really interesting.
Yeah. I'm also really excited too because it feels like earlier there was, I'd say in what the first three regional events for fall, I think, the top four teams, NVG2, NRG, and SSG, they were so dominant. But now you can see it's starting to cascade a little bit. All these teams like Ghost Gaming, Alpine have always been up there consistently, already making top 8 again in the winter regional. We've got Ghost Gaming, Pittsburgh Knights. These guys, their skill level has gradually been increasing, which means the competition for Alpine has obviously gotten harder and a lot stronger. But that's going to come with a lot of benefits as well with our obviously determination for Magic Bear. We've got a lot more motivation. I think that this could be a chance for Alpine to ascend even to the next level if our peers that we consistently beat have been improving themselves.
And looking at some of the, you put it as kind of cascading at the top half, right? And looking at some of those teams, I would really love, though they have nothing to do with this series or our group specifically, just before we get the action underway, some of your thoughts on specifically Envy and Rogue, because I feel like their performances, not only in the regional but just as of
Yeah.
late, have had a really unique kind of path.
Yeah, for Rogue especially, I think that is the biggest symbol of what a new player or adding, a fresh roster can do to the mentality of that group because they've got a lot of young potential on there, just like Alpine. I kind of view them in the same category. Rogue, sometimes I think they can get a little bit ahead of themselves or they'll get a bit frustrated and they need, kind of a team captain. And we have
Yeah,
Mystic, which is the best, I think, for our roster with the young players that we've got. We're one of the. Are we the youngest RLCS roster?
I believe so.
I think so, and that's massive because a lot of these young kids, man, how are they competing at this level, still performing well? Then you've got Envy always being dominant, and kind of ascending more to the first place spot when typically I'd put them at fourth out of all the top four.
Yeah, it has been a wild journey coming out from them, and I definitely agree with you. The roster being as young as they are, Mystic is a huge impact here for Alpine, and I'm sure is just as excited as us to see what unfolds here today. And before we get this lobby, I believe it's being set up right now. I just want to make sure that each and every one of you guys take a minute to appreciate Turtle's hoodie. First
Dude,
of all,
hold on, let me get in this
exclamation,
thing.
exclamation
it-
merch,
Oh my gosh. It's the
exclamation merch in the
comfiest
chat,
sweatshirt, dude. There is
store in the
nothing.
chat.
There's nothing better. I'm not even just saying this too. I got this sweatshirt, and you know how you expect like a typical like thin threaded layer. This
Yeah.
thing is like the most thick sweatshirt that I own, and I'm not even wearing a shirt under this. Just for you, just for you, Dreadnought. Okay, that's how
Thank
comfy
you.
I am right now. It's
I,
amazing.
I'm glad you enjoy it. And also, quickly, to note that we are actually giving away one of those sweatshirts on our Twitter currently right now. Actually, it may even be more than one. It might just be one. Don't quote me on that, but I know we are giving it away. So be sure, if you're really interested, want an opportunity, go ahead and like and retweet on our Twitter feed. And you'll have your opportunity there. And again, I believe it's exclamation merch in the chat. And you can go ahead and take a glance at all the things in our store. I got myself the shirt on right here. I'm
Ooh.
not as cool as Turtle to
Yeah,
be able to have
honestly,
himself
come on, man.
the new
Get your merch
patch.
game up. Get your merch game up.
It is embarrassing how kind of close my relationship with is Alpine compared to my merch game compared to you and F dot. I would take a point of pride, and I feel like that means treating people who matter more than me good, but at the same time, it is embarrassing a little bit.
Well,
I
I
will
mean,
admit.
let's just hope that the boys on Alpine are wearing their merch right now to feel a sense of unity because they're gonna need it. We've got a tough group, man, a tough group
Yeah.
to say the least. But it just makes it that much better because we're not gonna get knocked out. This is a new format of the grid. We haven't really touched upon that. Most people probably know already, but just in case you don't, this is a brand new format. Previously, we would get placement to see if we could make it to playoffs in general, but now you don't get knocked out. You just play 3 series, and we're gonna hop into the first one.
Yeah, and as we said before, it is up against G2. And so having the opportunity, I feel like for Alpine, that format change is something that could be really beneficial to get the opportunity to know you have a certain amount of games, and even then moving into the single elimination into tomorrow. If you have a little bit of success early on, it's really cool to I feel like single eliminations, though you may hate them as a competitor at times, they also do teach you a certain level of mental fortitude. And when you have good success in them, they feel very, very good. So it'll be interesting to see what impact that in fact has on the roster.
It's also pretty entertaining in terms of how, everybody talks about Rocket League as such an on-the-day esport, and that continues to be true. So, teams that, might show up in the group stage might not do that well in the single elimination, which I think tends to make everything so much more interesting. So Alpine, if they had whether a rough day it was today, going into single elimination bracket tomorrow, we can prepare for that one series and get our heads sorted.
Yeah, and the last time in the single elimination, Alpine was knocked out within the first round, but that came on kind of the back half of a pretty rough group stage. So it's also interesting if Alpine manages to perform a little bit better, especially in such an absurdly competitive group. If there's a world where that translates into a more significant placement into tomorrow. Great setup there. Magic Bear with a single solo play.
Yeah, and I wanted to see how this actually worked out. Jordan, again, utilizing the ceiling. We talked about this last week, F-Dot. Or not. I'm going to do that. I'm going to do that all day long. Dude, I told you before getting into this, I was going to call you F-Dot, but we talked about it. Dreadnought. It's because your name sounds similar. All right? You can't get mad at me.
It's the knot and the dot.
Yes, exactly.
That's fair.
Same thing, basically. But using the ceiling is something that it seems like Alpine use much more frequently.
Yeah, it does seem like it's kind of becoming another element in their arsenal here. Magic Bear with a great flip reset, no double touch there. But that is a good point. And, I was talking about how much I appreciate that because I think it buys a lot of time and gives a lot of opportunity. It kind of neglects the solo play and sets your team up to be able to move up on the offense. And it worked out really well there. Magic Bear, again, showing some of his mechanics and his prowess. And really spicy start here for Alpine in the first 2 minutes.
Really, I've been enjoying our transition game so far from the corners. Very strong clears and really good aggression overall against G2, which is difficult to come by because normally you're going to get locked in on your own half against these guys with passing like that. But Magic Bear, the read, he intercepted that pass without any sweat on his forehead.
Yeah, Magic is absolutely everywhere on the pitch, and I feel like that's a trend we typically see out of Percy here. Everybody really taking an involvement into the play. An open net, but Magic is not going to put it on point. As G2 gets some breathing room, sets down that clear. Ooh, an opportunity actually here for G2. The pass comes through and another denied. Dude, Magic Bear is an absolute monster out here.
Yeah, it's the awareness, I think, that is setting him apart from everybody else on the pitch. He knows exactly where G2 are trying to pass his ball, which is, I would say, the kryptonite against this roster. G2, their passes are insane, don't get me wrong, but if you somehow manage to intercept those midfield touches, that's where you can exploit G2 and get those huge clear goals.
A little bit of a pinch attempt there from Rizzo and JNaps. And, the passing play from them, I agree, is very, very threatening. But then there's always this next tier of G2. And it's probably, for me, I look at it as the scariest one. And it's when JNaps decides he's ready to win the game. And you know what I mean? And that seems like it's kind of symptomatic of it right there. Yeah, Rizzo at times as well. And it's when they just almost, Hulk ripping off the shirt moment. It's like, time's up, let's do this. And that's what I want to know, if whether or not Alpine kind of puts them to that position and suddenly we force that individualistic play from G2.
That goal right there just makes me feel like G2 have ripped off the shirt in game 1 so far against Rizzo. 2 demos to his name to get that first goal. And JNaps, of course, striking on point. Chicago, the air dribble, that could have been deadly, but still, Magic Bear is undefeated on the backboard.
That was a really clean air dribble there. The adjustment and correction in the middle of the air there was really well done. Great redirect from Chicago. It's not going to be quite on point, though, here. JNaps with a little bit of a flick, and not really a flick in the mechanic sense, but in terms of just how much power was behind it. And G2 suddenly find themselves with a lot of possession, which didn't seem like was the case in the first 2 minutes.
Yeah, it's a little bit of that trap I alluded to earlier on where they're kind of just going to go into the corner and just toss it back and forth, and then the one difference maker will be Rizzo on that extra rotation. Sometimes it's Chicago, but more often than not, it's going to be Rizzo trying to make that extra move to break your rotation.
A moment where we see Alpine finding a way to be able to recover here. 20 seconds left. Feeling like it might go over to overtime, as long as we keep the ball on the G2 half here. Magic Bear with a slight opportunity. See how good of a clear JNaps ends up finding. Carries it downfield. Percy with the touch, not going to get dunked. It is up in the air. 26
backboard.
boost to his name.
Oh, he missed.
Rizzo missed. So does Percy.
Oh, that's gotta hurt. Oh.
I mean, don't get me wrong. You expect Rizzo to make that touch, but then to miss it after that point, oh man, I know that is one that's got to be bothering Percy. But hold up, he makes up for it here.
He doesn't even need to worry about that 0-second miss. Percy, the pre-flip, the timing your jump off the wall always seems to be so difficult for these players, but to make it look easy, Percy gets some revenge, even when he misses that 0-second buzzer beater. I'm happy to see it, obviously, but Percy, that was a clutch factor, and obviously his mentality is going to be benefited from that.
Yeah, I actually think there is a statement to be had right there on how you could argue the easy shot right before that Percy has the opportunity at least to kind of open net, but then to come back with an off-the-wall pre-flip, which don't get me wrong, pre-flipping is hard. It is very, very hard to do. Pre-flipping off a wall, to me, honestly, I'm at the skill level where that hurts my brain a little bit. So to do that, I mean, that was within mere seconds. Shows that was a level of like, yeah, we missed it, but we still have an overtime. And that mental strength is something that I would argue has seemed to be a bit of a miss at times when looking at Alpine in their past. So this, I feel like, is a really good thing to see here, especially against G2 and in the very first game of the day.
Normally with Alpine, I think it's that closing out factor, trying to make sure you can compete at the highest performance that you have in the whole series towards the end. And in game one, I was a little bit scared. We started out with great aggression, strong passing plays, good transition out of the defense with like clears, and then everything kind of slowed down a bit. But towards the end, Percy, even after missing the chance, comes out in overtime and is able to clutch it out for his boys. I think that shows a lot of improvement, and still, you can see Alpine have been making a lot of changes in their roster and their play style.
Yeah, it's going to come back to bite him, though, here in the first 11 seconds of game number 2. Percy tried to get a carry across field. Really big dunk challenge coming out from Chicago there and setting JNaps up for a pretty clean touch.
Yeah, I think Percy might have been going for one of those fakes where he tries to make it seem like he's going to go for a flick. That way Chicago would go super high on the challenge and Percy can kind of just squeeze it through. But Chicago called his bluff pretty much the whole way there.
Yeah, and always when that specific situation, that bluff gets called, typically that is the outcome. I don't want to say a goal, but at least that immediate launch upwards and directly back to your goal. Magic Bear barely able to get up there and deny Chicago a double touch. JNaps goes for the second double touch, question mark. The double touch. But Jordan luckily able to send it down and at least buy some breathing room here for Alpine.
I mean, you talked about JNaps, and as soon as you mentioned his name, you gotta go. I didn't even say Magic Bear, but he's still getting one on the board here, and this is the consistent performance. I mean, he was popping off in game 1, Dreadnought.
He was. And to come back with that double touch, I mean, that's not an easy angle. Got to get to the left-hand side of the ball. A lot of the momentum is headed in that direction, but still some correction needed. Magic Bear was originally, I feel like, when looking at Alpine, the standout player in a lot of people's mindset.
Yeah.
But I always felt like it was one of those, the flashiest player. Yes, he is outstanding, but it wasn't necessarily everybody was giving as much credit to the remainder of the roster. But it does feel like here today, at least so far, Magic has really found a new echelon of play.
Yeah.
Great defense there, and I think that's the biggest difference. Is typically we know Magic to be the offensive player. Keep in mind, he's basically had 3 to 4 critical stops here today.
Well, it seems like his focus has been less of, how can I make an impact on offense versus his positional awareness on defense, where he's trying to make an impact there instead. A lot of times with Magic Bear, I think he's just waiting for his opportunity to make a solid dribble or go for a bump, but now he's taking those opportunities on defense as Rizzo, the double demo, but it doesn't phase. So JNaps takes it to the corner and doesn't do much with it.
Yeah, that was, I believe, just kind of the awkward touch after those double demos. Percy missing a touch off the back wall. Magic Bear with the backflip, stalls out time, ends up getting enough distance for Jordan to get the 50. in the challenge in his favor. Percy sends it downfield. Jordan unable to get that follow-up transition shot, but man, an absolute clinic here being displayed on the defensive side of Alpine.
What has Magic Bear eaten for breakfast? I have to know, because this man is turning into a beast on the defensive side alone, and he's still coming out on top on offense. You remember back to the first goal for Alpine, or the only one rather, in this game. It's because of Magic Bear and that double tap.
Yeah, this is very impressive to be able to see team play still coming through. Magic Bear ends up sending a pass over to Percy. Jordan with a little bit of just kind of a bop up there in the midfield, trying to buy time for the team. And still the kind of back and forth game here. This has not been nearly as possession oriented for G2 as it felt like the back half of game number 1 has been, but it's not like the opportunities aren't in fact there. Rizzo going up with that touch, really like that choice. Gets the bump onto Jordan too, but nobody there to close it out.
Nice little corner play so far from G2. So laying down that little mouse trap, waiting for Alpine to fall into the bait for them to go for one little midfield pass. Usually that's all it takes for G2, is one infield pass to separate your defense, and everything pretty much starts falling apart. But we've got Magic Bear on the backboard too. Almost always predict where they're trying to go with the ball. That's a great bounce for Percy. He tries to get the flip reset. He does, but he doesn't make any contact on it, and G2 got a nice and easy clear.
Yeah, I gotta appreciate the opportunity to try and capitalize though. The Chicago with a, I'm gonna use the term awkward touch in the midfield, allowing for that possible flip reset. And J-Naps, what a read there off the back wall. Keeps G2 alive here. Still 1-1, 1 minute and 30 seconds left. See if we go into overtime. Last OT going in favor of Alpine here. I love when we see that there from Jordan. Some of his patience in the midfield and some of his decision making. I think. What a dunk!
Magic. The reads this man is pulling out in this game. It's unreal. He has some kind of crystal ball with him that's allowing him to know where G2 are exactly trying to hit this ball.
It is very impressive. And again, I think the most standout element for me, I'm going to say it again because of how night and day the contrast really has existed from pass play to where it is today. It's not just on offense. It is a half defensive effort as well, which I feel like the player who seems to generally be kind of all over the place in that same capacity is generally Percy. Jordan with a little bit more midfield and kind of fulfilling that third man role. As Percy here gets bumped out, 20 seconds left. The demo comes through. Magic Bear onto onto Rizzo, giving Jordan a pass opportunity. Percy doesn't end up finding it.
Got again the swing game for the series. This is huge. Going into overtime, can we close it out? We had a chance last game for Percy. Now off the ceiling, almost the same attempt, excuse me, as Jordan's going to turn on this, and we're going to keep it up.
J-Naps is not going to go for that touch until the last second. Great opportunity. Magic Bear actually keeps it up, goes for the double, goes up to the ceiling. Jordan gets into the corner. Jordan gets the pass to the midfield. J-Naps is there. Rizzo is there. Magic Bear stuffs him. Rizzo, everybody's up. Now it's launching back to the Alpine half. Jordan puts it down into the corner. And we've got OT in game 2.
That was a great look for another buzzer beater. You can see the possession going into the corner and keeping a couple of consistent shots. Chicago doesn't have the backboard double tap, but J-Nap squeezes it through. Jordan, a very pivotal touch here for the defense to keep us in overtime.
Percy again going for that flick opportunity. He ends up finding it, getting a good setup pass, but then, look at this third man out too far. Magic Bear does get the deny, and Percy saving that shot from Chicago. It's not over yet. The onslaught of the offense of G2 is continuing, but now
1v1.
It doesn't go for the musty. Typically in that situation, he seems to wait it out and go for a musty flick instead, just going for a traditional flick, if you will. Chicago comes back.
I was going to say, normally we see Jordan go for, like you said, something mechanical. The man has some incredible mechanics on his side and in his arsenal, but doesn't pull out one there.
Magic Bear gets a nice pass, a dunk opportunity. Everybody going up for this one. Chicago ends up getting that one back into the corner here for G2. Alpine maintaining a lot of pressure here in this overtime, but by no means is it one-sided. It just, I keep looking at that first game as the example of the oppression that sometimes can happen against Alpine, which doesn't seem to be here. A little bit of an awkward bump onto Jordan from Percy here, but it doesn't set them back too much. Alpine seem to be holding their own here. 50 sends one high. Chicago gets dunked. Pass opportunity. Magic tries to follow it up. JNaps is going to have none of that.
We've gotten a little bit of a stalemate. This happens a couple of times in overtime, where both teams end up playing a bit more passive, I would say, because you'll notice right here the third man for G2 doesn't really want to turn on it. Instead, he waits for JNaps, who has all the boost in the world. He's going to get the double tap. Unfortunately, on our defensive side, we had no rotations. That backboard player could not get the touch because Jordan just decided to go down a little bit too soon.
Really good shot there from JNaps, but as you said, I mean that's never an easy position to be in. I feel like from a defensive standpoint, you know, it's a pretty impressive shot. It's not like double taps aren't a part of the, you know, the average Rocket League RLCS pros repertoire by any means, but just reading off that wall and deciding, do I want to be using the back wall right now to enforce the defense here, or do I want to be a little bit more patient and maybe look for what could be a passing play is always, at least for me, a tough decision to make in game. So I'm not surprised to see that maybe be hesitated there on the side of Alpine. But even with G2 taking the game, I walk away from that being pleasantly surprised from Alpine. And I don't think I'm saying that as a fanboy as much as I am specifically, it is the lack of just absolute control from G2. And that's not necessarily because that's a raw strength of G2 as much as that seems to be a common weakness of Alpine when playing a very good team. And that didn't seem present there.
And we've also got, you know, in terms of a spotlight performance, you know, it's JNaps versus Magic Bear. Magic Bear, every time this man gets the ball, it seems like he's creating opportunities out of thin air. Meanwhile, on the other side, we've got JNaps. He just hit that double tap, and OT has also been very consistent with his challenges, and it's really going to come down to both these two players in my team. We've got to see the same performance again from Magic Bear if Jordan have a chance at beating G2, or is Jordan going to pop off again with some mechanics? The dude doesn't miss off the ceiling.
That was very, very close. If he had any more boosts, I feel very confident that would have been a shot there. Just the adjustment after getting bumped when he was going for that air dribble, then to touch the ceiling and consider that there may be more left in that play, I feel like is a very standout element there. And as we've talked about, Jordan definitely not shy when it comes to his own mechanics, even though I feel like the archetype and stereotype maybe around the third man is, you know, maybe one of your lesser skilled players, not necessarily a true statement when looking at Alpine.
If there was a player, you know, I was forced to take an RLCS where it was, you know, which player can surprise you most, I would hands down pick Jordan. This guy, I'm telling you, he plays that consistent third man, that rock of the team, who needs to get solid clears, be there in rotation. Fortunately, if you're a G2 fan, Chicago was there in rotation to actually do this all himself. We didn't have an early challenge. Magic Bear just a little bit too late.
Yeah, I thought that was a bit of a misplay there, but Jordan kind of going for the fake, realizing he can't get the challenge in time. It felt like Magic Bear should have been able to make it. I'm not certain that was by any means a miscommunication, but it just felt a little bit of a slower cadence than we've gotten through most of this series so far from Alpine. But 3 minutes and 40 seconds left, still a lot of game to be had here. And we'll see where things go.
Interesting battle in the midfield. You know, a couple of passes connecting for G2 as they try to transition out, but Alpine has been typically finding a good way to challenge in the midfield. But Rizzo, that control to bring that himself, and then also go for a nice little setup. Now we've got two players back, and then of course everybody has boost. That little aggression from Rizzo coming out of nowhere, I think, is what sets them apart. To waste a few seconds off the clock, let JNaps and Chicago get some boost, and then they can go ahead and make their onslaught of attacks.
Magic Bear is very patient on taking this, and he will take it all the way down the field. Great pinch on the response on the back wall, setting up Rizzo for a nice shot. Percy, though, has what it takes to hold his own on that. I feel like that right there, those touches are the ones that scare me the most when looking at G2. Their corner sidewall touches on your half, like that, are the most intimidating of any teams, because even when they do not put a shot on, they are putting on a pretty gross pass most of the time. And I don't know, just something about the way that they approach it, especially JNaps, seems to be a skosh different than the remainder of the rosters in the RLCS.
But G2 are very, very good at not getting, I would say, too desperate to get a goal when it comes to mechanics. You know, they're not afraid to pull out a flip reset in the corner, not to shoot it on net, but instead just keep possession. That's the key that a lot of teams are missing. You have to focus so hard on keeping possession and not get too desperate for goals and end up just giving away the ball straight away because you're just hitting it right to them. You know, if you're just going to put every single shot on net, there's no point in even continuing forward because you're just losing that possession right away. You've got G2, a team that likes to take it slow in the corners. Rizzo, keeping it to himself, plays exactly like this are what I'm talking about. Rizzo, he doesn't need to put an early shot on, instead focus on keeping it close and getting that second follow-up.
Really impressive touch there from him to send that off that back wall for the self pass kind of setup. And yeah, you know, I think when you put it that way, when discussing the just keep possession kind of thought process on it, I feel like it does paint that picture a little bit more clearly. They're far more comfortable kind of just being almost the drip of water that leads to the erosion later down the road, right? And there's no panic in the fact that like drip 1, 2, or 5,000 did not lead to whatever outcome they were desiring, because they know it is only a few more until something's going to break into their favor. And the patience they have in that is outstanding. And again, those touches, if it isn't a shot on goal, it's going to be a setting up a very clean pass. Well done here from Rizzo in Chicago.
It's Rizzo again in the corner. This is the exact same situation where he just needs to make sure he can have a solid touch across. You talked about it, you know, 1 drip, 2 drip, whatever it is, slowly it'll whittle away the defense of Alpine to the point where we can't keep up with all those tiny individual touches. And we saw exactly how that works with Rizzo finally getting a solid setup in the midfield, and our defense trying to find the challenges. You know, Jordan does a good job of clearing this one out, but transition game hasn't been ideal.
I feel like that is something when looking at a lot of competitive games, a lot of players don't want to play to. I think it's easy to fall into the mental fault of, you know, going with that slow and steady decay is not in your best interest. And a lot of it is because it's not flashy. It's not as validating, you know.
Exactly.
But, you know, it's super important to know that, like, the Art of War has pretty thorough discussion on the war of attrition and the relevance that has as another, I mean, great shot there from Chicago. Great adjustment there, 4-0 now. But, you know, the war of attrition is significant and a very heavy factor on ways to be able to find a way to get an advantage of your opponent. And I really do feel like G2 seem to be some of the masters of that category specifically.
Yeah, and it's stayed through a long period of time with G2. You know, they built the chemistry, they built this play style that they love. You know, these guys haven't made a roster change in so long, and everybody loves to mention it because they continue to improve without making a roster change, which I think is a very difficult thing to do sometimes whenever you get stagnated with that same play style you keep going in for. So G2, it's that chemistry, it's their vision on the field, and also that slow play style that will break your defense down after they put shot and shot after shot really on net, to the point where you're just like, okay, what am I supposed to do? I don't have any boost. I can't get the touch. Rizzo's just going to go into the corner and hit it to the midfield. There's no chance for me.
Yeah, and you know, I think for me, I normally see that, I think, in some of the most experienced rosters. I feel like, you know, again, because the validation isn't there, and I think it takes a certain level of mental strength, right? Not getting baited into the force the shot here and make it an easy save. Just buy a little bit more time and watch your team come through. And the showcasing that they have of that kind of strategy sometimes is just super, super impressive. And I think only speaks to how long they've been together, that strategy is even an option. And at the same time, you look at them and you go, but by no means is it like, what would be the counterpoint to that, right? Is like maybe they're dated enough that they can't mechanically keep up. And we know that that is anything but the case. So really impressive from G2 setting them up now here in the series 2-1. We'll see if Alpine can come back here in game number 4.
Yeah, that was definitely the first game where G2 took full control of the pitch. I'd say it was actually in favor of Alpine for the first 2 games. You know, we went into overtime, struggled a bit to deal with, I'd say in particular the last game, Rizzo, but also before that it was JNAPS. We'll see how we start to handle things, especially in that corner. We've got to get an earlier challenge out of Rizzo. Otherwise, he's going to keep following it up with that double touch.
It's a great point you bring up, and I think probably the key thing that I think myself and a lot of fans at home should be keeping their eyes on is who has control and does Alpine actually get those
Yeah.
challenges? Because if they get the opportunity, if you give them the space, Rizzo is going to keep doing what Rizzo has done for basically the entirety of the existence of Rocket League, and that's keep up some pressure and find himself a win. Chicago not able to find a way to get that pretty clever and cheeky shot on point.
It's a bit frustrating too. Sometimes I'll notice Alpine will go for a challenge and it'll squeeze out just out of our range. Maybe we need to push that offensive lineup just a tad bit, but it's always hard to recover with your rotations fast whenever you're handling a lot of this pressure. Like right here, Chicago's up. Nobody's even there to challenge him off the backboard. Percy does get a touch, but they're going to continue with this pressure because we're a bit late on that challenge.
Yeah, and J-Naps finds a great way. I mean, just enforcing panic on the defensive half there for Alpine. You saw, I don't want to call it a triple commit, but it was pretty darn close. A double commit enforcing a bump. Talking about bumps, we see another one coming out between Magic Bear and Percy. Rizzo finds a challenge and ends up stalling it out. Chicago with the half flip, considering a single play there to be able to open up the scoreboard for game number 4. But Alpine with a slight opportunity.
You know, I love seeing Magic Bear still be a bit aggressive. Also, I feel like on Alpine, if we're going to try and match that physical game, it's normally going to be up to Magic Bear to find those demos as he's rotating back on defense.
It's a good point, and that's where I want to pose the question. With Magic being so significant in the defensive segment of this series compared to the past, is that still an opportunity? It seems like he's opting less into the kind of physical play as he puts this one over the head of I don't even know who that was.
I mean, to that point, I think Magic Bear, if he's taking a little step back and being a bit more defensive, he's giving Jordan, a chance to step up himself to be a bit more aggressive. Normally, Jordan will have to fill in a bit more on defense, but Magic Bear definitely taking his fair share of the defensive objectives against G2. Let's see if Jordan will start to press up and be a monster himself. Maybe he can get a couple of physical plays in as we do take the lead 1-0, 2 minutes and 40 seconds left. Alpine, this is a different team than we saw in the previous game.
Percy finds himself a clear. Every time that ball is on those walls, my goodness, clean play coming up.
Yeah.
Oh, what a denial of that shot. Not coming from actually the third man in that position, but Magic Bear just getting the read, opting out of that touch, whether or not intentional or not, finds a demo onto J-Naps. And it's that specific motion with the ball there up the corner that launches off that ceiling lip and down and out is something that we've seen repetitively this series. That time forced off of a little bit of a pinch, but that is what seems to be enabling G2 in almost half of their goals.
And who else but Rizzo? He's the one who's taking charge in the corners. And sometimes we'll see Chicago take this role, but I'm surprised. Normally Rizzo, he's that third man coming back. I'm shocked to see him be aggressive, but you know, I guess to their point, it's working out. G2, they throw Rizzo forward. You've got J-Naps then coming in for the follow-up. Chicago now filling that role of the third man striker. This is a more aggressive Rizzo than we've ever seen, but it's working out. But we've got Magic, right? That's our one hope. He has been predicting a lot of these solid passes, doing a great job. Percy with some fantastic clears, you pointed out himself. If we can connect a bit more in those corners, just like G2, I think that's where our success will lie.
Yeah, and I feel like, as you said that, we saw like an opportunity for Percy to be able to maybe take that on, but the ball touch from Magic Bear goes too far out. Magic Bear tries to take that challenge, sends it off the back wall. Jordan, let's see if he can keep it on the G2 half. Unable to do so after
Chicago
that.
has boost.
Chicago, yeah, but not enough. He actually doesn't, I mean, clearly just didn't boost fast enough to get around it far enough to get the touch there. And a little bit of a whiff, but we'll call it a fake here as Chicago almost gets that follow-up.
It's getting more scary as Rizzo isn't actually going to push this into the corner. Rizzo switches it up on us, goes directly towards the net. We've got Percy to back it up. Thankfully, gets that clear out. Still very dangerous area for all of Alpine as G2, that threatening offense, moves forward. Are we going to get a solid counterattack? This is where we could punish them. All this aggression could be for nothing if we can get a big clear to one of our players.
Nice pass over to Jordan there. But it's not going to set up too much. Double commit here on the defensive half of Alpine Esports. A demo comes through. Chicago finding Jordan as he's going to go ahead and spawn. Percy does his best here. Jordan should have boost spawning in the back right-hand half of Alpine. Again, man, if it's not a shot, it's going to be a great pass. Does it set up a second one? It does. as that is a 3-man touch
Yeah.
passing play here from G2.
With Rizzo again starting in the corner. This is the repetitive play style from G2 that continues to work. Rizzo gets that clear out into the midfield. We've got a second follow-up from G2 that's not so focused on the net, but instead focusing it on the third man to have a cleanup shot. Breaks down our defense yet again. We got 15 seconds to maybe make a difference here, Greg.
Yeah, and look at that. Magic finds a way to get it downfield. Percy with the high touch is going to go off the backboard. JNAP sends it high to burn a little bit more time. Great decision from him. 2 seconds left. Percy, the last one to make anything happen, goes up with it, can't follow.
Well, it's still up.
Rizzo should be able to send this down. Actually, a double commit there. Alpine can get a good catch there. Not quite the catch they needed. They might be able to carry it down. Oh man, this is again another great 0-second opportunity between these two teams. Not gonna net anything there. As I believe it was JNAP sends that off the back wall. G2 end up taking this series 3-1.
Wow, and that was another floater towards the end. Final few seconds, man. Alpine doing a good job of keeping that ball up, but you know, falling to G2 not in you know, the worst fashion whatsoever. We kept it close almost every single game. Maybe game 3 was a bit swayed towards G2. I think everybody can make that argument, but if we're looking at any other moment of this series, Alpine kept it close, had some solid plays on offense. It was just that corner play that we struggled to deal with.
And that's where I kind of want to bring this into context. We started today when we were talking about the challenges behind the fact that we lost a PK. G2 also lost a PK, right? And then it's like, now knowing that before from the regional into what we just saw from both the teams today, how do you think this kind of looks for both G2 and Alpine with the remaining 2 series that both teams have?
I think this looks pretty great for both teams, actually. I don't think the G2 reputation has been hindered whatsoever, really, by the first regional event. I think it's something to take into consideration, but also with what I'm seeing here, it's not like G2 are constantly on the downwards trend. These guys definitely have all of their play styles and passing still organized. Maybe they didn't get the results they wanted in the winter split, but these guys still looking very, very solid. Meanwhile, Alpine, this is also a great look. This is the best I think I've seen Magic Bear look in quite some time. I'm not sure if he had some replay analysis of G2, but the way he was able to position himself on the field to counter the positioning of everyone on G2 was fantastic, and I would love to see that continue into the next series.
Yeah, and I absolutely would love to see it as well. And that is not just because Magic Bear standing out is a cool thing. I actually think the thing that I appreciated the most out of what we just saw in that series was, as you highlighted, the enabling of Jordan in the midfield and some of the decisions he can make because of the transitions we see coming out from Magic Bear, making it a far more, I believe the term is a 3-headed beast, we like to say in the Rocket League scene, right? Enabling that to be truly a statement that holds true for Alpine because of some of those decisions there. So super excited to be able to see what we get. Again, when we come back, we actually have Alpine up against Pittsburgh Knights. Again, another roster that we ended up struggling against in the regionals. And also keep in mind, when we do come back, we will be taking some of the questions submitted by the MNVL. So stay tuned for that, and we'll see you in a few.
You have habits just like me. Talk too much with strangers. Get way too serious around family. Got wandering eyes that I seem to follow. Can only stay still for some time. I've never aligned with the city's also. That makes it easier to leave behind. I just wanna get to know brighter lights in Tokyo. Somehow hear it whispering that could be the one you're missing.
Oh, hello and welcome back here, ladies and gentlemen, to the second week of the grid. We are, of course, following Alpine Esports here through the winter split. And as we said before we went to break, and we said at the top of the show, in case you didn't catch it, today is the MNVL field trip. We have participants and community members of the MNVL viewing and kind of participating throughout the day. At the end of the show, we are going to have a show match, but we said we would field some questions from the community. And so we're going to have that. We have some for the players a little bit later, but first up, we have some here for me and Turtle. And so, Turtle, I cannot find. I have a water bottle in my way. I cannot find the doc in front of
Oh,
me.
well, I
Make
mean,
sure I have these questions.
we're going top to bottom here. These are some juicy, hard-hitting, bring out the
Hard-hitting.
drama. Bring out the drama, okay? Dreadnought's gonna expose everybody in his life. He's gonna expose all the production staff. He's gonna expose me for being my secretly biological father. Everything's coming out right now on the stream.
The first question, and the probably the most pressing, has got to be: what was the first video game you ever played in the '90s? And this is submitted by Zyrant, and that's where I said it at the beginning of the show before we went live, and I'll say it again. I don't think that holds true for you, Turtle. Right? I don't know exactly what year you were born, but you weren't jamming in the '90s, were you?
I may or may not have been born in 2000.
Okay.
I might have to ignore the 90s part. But if we're just talking first video game that I've ever played, all right, I'm
Yeah.
going with the Pokemon Fire Red for the Nintendo
Ooh.
Game Boy SP. There we go.
That's honestly a little bit more dated than I expected considering
Okay.
2000s, but it's a good choice. So
Right.
I'm a big fan of it there. I'm trying to think back. I think it was Paperboy for the SNES was the
Paper
first
Boy.
game I
Am I gonna
ever
have to look this
owned.
up?
If
Paper
it
Boy.
isn't Paperboy, you were literally just a paperboy throwing papers at doors
I've
on your
played
bike.
this game before, actually.
uh,
I walked into an arcade and I've played this before. That's
If
crazy.
it wasn't that, I believe I may have played at my cousin's house before I got my own console, and there was only 2 games I was allowed to play there, and one was one of the original Tomb Raiders, and the other was Frogger. So it's gotta be
Okay.
one of those 3, but which came first? It's chicken and the egg, we'll never really know. I cannot recall, well enough here, but
That is incredible. I've heard of that game, the Paperboy game, and I've played it a
yeah.
couple of times, and I just have to say, Dreadnought, you might not be the boomer that I always thought you were.
Thanks. Thank you. Out of any of those that like Atari generation games or like ancient kind of games, I would suggest to you the only one I would really kind of speak to would be Centipede. That one's always got a place in my heart if you've never played it.
Okay, okay.
Just if you
I've
find
ne-
it, think about it. We've got question number 2 here coming through. Question number 2 is what is the hardest part about casting? And this is when the real feels are going to be coming out. It seems like you really need to know the game's mechanics in order to constantly commentate over it. And this was suggested, or excuse me, submitted by Tomato TCG.
Okay, okay. I love the question. First of all, that's a pretty fantastic question because I feel like if anybody's watching Rocket League for the first time, you're a bit confused on really what's going on. And I'm not implying that he's watching Rocket League for the first time. I'm just saying the game in general, when you're watching it, it's you're trying to keep up with what's going on. And a lot of times for a caster, that is one of the most difficult things. For me, it varies. I think the hardest thing that I'm working on about casting is being able to convey what's in my head properly without it just getting super jumbled up.
Yeah.
I think I have too many thoughts going on at once, so I end up just saying a mixture of all of them, and it comes out as a foreign language or as if I'm trying to speak some kind of Morse code that I've
Yeah.
invented myself. So for me, it's the fluidity of how I'm saying things, and also what I'm saying, because I want to convey it to an audience that can understand it no matter who you are, if you're a new beginner at Rocket League or you're a veteran.
That's definitely one of the harder challenges. I think for me, reading the back half of that question of do you need to know the game, you really need to know the game mechanics. I would definitely say yes, but that's where I struggle. It's like I think there's 2 forms to like what is the hardest part about casting. One is like your own internal version, and what is the one that's easiest to get flamed over. And so for me, like the easiest to get flamed over is word choice. It is hard
Oh,
to be able
yeah.
to not say like, mechanics that we talk about, like challenges and things we're allowed to say multiple times, but I would say, if you use like the word contrast 20 times in a broadcast, I may even have a word that I'm using too much in this broadcast
Oh,
that stands out to your
I
average
definitely
audience.
do.
And
Oh,
that is
yeah.
so hard to get rid of. But I don't know if I would say it's the hardest part. I just think it's the most easy to see and be like, that's the hard part, right? I think for me, and I think it kind of speaks to what you're talking about with like so many things going on in your head and how do you articulate them. I think for me, it's you're maintaining multiple conversations. Like one is your own internal narrative of what you see unfolding and what you want to speak to. The other is actually listening to Turtle, right? And making sure that whatever
Oh,
he's saying, I'm speaking to that. And then you have the third conversation, which is you and the production team. Shout out to our production team, and them genuinely speaking to you and telling you things. And so you're trying to keep track of like 3 major things. As my production just spoke to me, we need to get to question number 3 because the games are getting ready, but it would be that. So question number 3 is how do you become casters and what is the roadmap? And this is by I don't know how to directly. I want to say Manayak, but it could be MNY3K. And so, to give you a TLDR, I think there's a different roadmap than both what me and Turtle have taken, but I would also argue that ours is probably one of the easiest routes, which is play professionally first. By dissecting and learning to analyze a game and perform at a certain level, it gives you an upper hand, I would say, to being able to communicate those things to an audience because they're come a little bit more naturally to you. Obviously, in the landscape of Rocket League, way more towards you, Turtle, than necessarily myself. But both me and Turtle competed at a professional level, not me in
yeah.
Rocket League, but instead Heroes of the Storm. So, um, anything you want to add to that, Turtle?
I mean, really, I think that was the best way to put it. Is it's one of the I don't want to necessarily downgrade what we've done, but really, in actuality, it's definitely one of the easier routes because whenever you're transitioning from being a professional at the game to casting, you're pretty much just thinking out loud because as a competitor, all you're thinking about is the stuff that casters are trying to explain. So if you can learn and get over that initial way of how you're communicating, like basically what I was saying, I'm trying to figure out how I can convey a message properly, pretty much discuss whatever's in my head the best way I
Yeah.
can because I have the knowledge. I'm not like some genius. I don't know everything, but I think I have like a decent input sometimes into Rocket League. Sometimes, most of the time, it's just rubbish though. But sometimes.
And we can still speak to this just to give a little more context here as we kick off the series against Pittsburgh Knights. But the other roadmap for anybody who's like, well, I'm never going to be a pro, so what do I do? To be honest, it's do it a lot. And do it yourself over your own events, over replays of other people, your own replays, it doesn't matter. That is hands down the best way. Watch those VODs. Ooh, Magic Bear with a nice shot. Watch those VODs, and keep in mind that if you have a hard time watching yourself, how do you expect somebody else to watch you? And I think that's a really good bar to have.
Magic Bear needs to watch himself because he's starting to pop off a little bit too much. You can see Magic Bear into the corner. He gets that nice little touch very fast over the challenge, and then also follows it up after the second man gets the follow-up. This is an incredible performance from Magic Bear that we're seeing out here. Wavefunk, I was about to call you Wavefunk. Red Knot.
Honestly, that's an honor. That is an honor.
No,
Wavefunk, if you're watching, shout out. I love Wave, man.
We just saw Wave, because I was reading chat, I saw Wave talk about my crutch word, which I just used again, was incredible. See
What's
what
your crutch word? Can we point it out so everybody can use?
It's been incredible so far. It's been like little. It's every word I say basically is a crutch word here.
Yeah, they are the kryptonite. They are absolutely so challenging to get over, and even when you manage to be able to move beyond those words, then suddenly you find that you created a new subset of them, and the game just continues onward. It gets harder and harder here, but so far, we didn't speak much about the history. We touched up on it a little bit at the top of the show, but keep in mind, everybody, this series happened at the regional, and Alpine did end up losing it. Game number 1, pretty dominant, pretty in the favor of Alpine. Games 2, 3, and 4, all 1-goal games in favor of Pittsburgh Knights. So we'll see if we can kind of change the outcomes as we've experienced over the regionals, as ZPS finds a nice open net there after a clean, I believe it was a demo. Yeah, comes through there.
I was about to say that was an odd break in rotation. I was looking for a demo, and it did actually happen in the corner there. You can see the Knights basically just stomped through our corners. Got a demo, nice little cheeky shot from ZPS, very typical fashion. And against the Knights, I think for Alpine, it was just closing out series. I really do believe Alpine were the favorites, and I might just say that I'm a little bit biased because I love these boys, but genuinely, I was watching that series, and Alpine had so much great possession, and a lot of things to be proud of coming out of that series.
I agree, and I did feel like a lot of it, again, was kind of closing it out. Good fake into a pass. Magic Bear not able to put it away. I believe that was Sosa got a foot on it, if you will. I guess wheeled more so in this contact, but well done from them. But yeah, it was not, a 1-goal game is never one that you can totally just, look away from and be like, we got absolutely destroyed. But I always find it so interesting when looking at, any sport ball game or Rocket League in that context being kind of a rendition of that, is that you don't have a win condition until you score. Yeah. And so, it's one of those, like, I don't know, I've always thought about games as win conditions, loss conditions, how to minimize and maximize probabilities towards one or the other, right? And how you don't even have one and no way to get one until you achieve a goal. And then technically that can be your win condition. And I don't know, I just find the idea of how you play with or without that condition in the game of Rocket League to be so very interesting. And it seemed like it was something that the roster of Pittsburgh Knights had an absolute lockdown, again, walking away with 3 games with just 1 goal.
Well, and it came out of nowhere, and I think simply pretty much falls on the responsibility of Sosa. This man is the new pickup for the Knights, somebody that a lot of us have had our attention on. We've been paying attention to see how closely he has been fitting into the rotation of the Knights, and he's actually made an impact on the offense. And I think everybody can agree, especially with the performance in the regional event number 1 for the winter split, that Sosa was a main impact and a main factor for the wins that the Knights got. He's been a bit more aggressive. Sosa comes out with a lot of speed just like that. And as I mentioned his name, he's out here showing up.
Yeah, Rodoko with a nice touch off the ground, kind of forcing a weird touch there from Magic. And I even think got the bump, which forced Magic into that back corner. In case you're wondering why was Magic nowhere near that. Really good job from Rodoko, and again, Sosa for that pass. Another great 1-2-3 coming out from the competitors of Alpine, which doesn't honestly seem to be necessarily true when looking at our performance so far today. Our goals are generally 1 or 2, never a 3-man involvement. Double touch comes through for ZPS. That was a challenge on the first touch there.
I love that pass from Sosa. Absolutely amazing. You can see he just pops it up ever so slightly, letting ZPS take it all himself. If he hits that any harder, Sosa, there would be no way ZPS can get a solid double touch in. Instead, he's got the finesse, he's got the control of the ball, and he sets up ZPS to make a work of art.
And I'm going to come in with my hot take of the day here, Turtle. Would love to hear your thoughts.
Let's hear
and that
it.
is back passing, one of the most underrated and underused elements in all of Rocket League.
100%. And I think it has. Sorry,
Go ahead.
I'm just so excited. This is a hot take that I love hearing. You know, I need to hear the finished hot take.
Okay, so to complete that we can spend hours discussing possession and control on one half of the field and the significance that has on the outcome of the game. But for some reason, when that decision to maintain possession happens anywhere in the midfield or on your half and not so much just throwing it off the back wall, it's considered to be a, like, what are you doing level play. And yes, there is an argument of some of the boosts and positioning challenges that introduces, but I just am in awe of how significant we can look at possession, but then back passes are once in a series sometimes, depending on the team play.
Oh, 100%. And I think that, you know, back passes aren't as utilized simply because if they go horribly wrong, it explodes in your face as, the Knights are actually going to take this game. Game number 1 goes in favor of the Knights, which is different from the previous series that we faced in the regional event. But like I was saying, in a back pass situation, if you're trying to hit it back to your defender, if you hit it too lightly, you're basically giving away a free goal. And I don't think anybody wants to be in the position where that's even an option. So that's why it gets shied away or shunned out a bit, is the back passes. But that doesn't
I'm
mean
gonna double
you can't
down
do
on
it
my hot
offense.
take. I'm
You
gonna
can't
double
do
down
it
on
on
it.
offense, though. Okay, what's the double down? Say
I'm
it.
gonna
Say it.
double down on it. That is the human loss aversion coming into play, because
Okay.
you would rather take the very high risk air dribble opportunity to maybe get it off the back wall to set your team up for sustained possession, which has equal chance, if not maybe more in some cases, of failure. But you would rather do that and do what makes you feel good of putting the ball in their direction over what is the safer play. It is the feels bad of the setting them up that causes us to avoid that. And I would still argue that in and of itself is a misplay by not capitalizing on that mechanic. It's not even a mechanic, just a decision.
I have no choice but to absolutely agree with you because it stems from that insecurity. I don't want to be the guy that messes up. If it's going to be me, you know, I don't want to have to make that decision. And I also don't want to face Sosa because he's a little bit too speedy. ZPS, a little bit of a fake pass. Nice little touch over there. And again, it's Sosa being involved in the offense. There's no back pass. There's nothing, Dreadnought, nothing that's going to save us from that goal.
Yeah, it was very well done. And sadly, as you pointed out, the back pass a bit of a miss. Magic Bear trying to set up a cheeky touch there, unable to find his pinch that he was looking for. He did end up finding himself a little Rodoko sitting still. An opportunity here for Alpine if they can get it set up, and Rodoko just denies it there. It's an opportunity was existing for Alpine. And so far, I believe only 1 goal to the 4 for Alpine versus PK. Good touch there from Percy. You never like finding yourself in that situation, but always thankful. And wow, great save from Jordan. The pressure is just mounting here.
Yeah,
on the side of Alpine.
We cannot keep up with the speed, and you can tell because a lot of times on our defensive side, we're just barely in the nick of time getting a touch, and it's last second. That's how you can tell pretty much that our rotations completely off by one small step. You know, it's not a huge mistake, it's most likely an issue of boost, which is something that I want to pay attention to. But whenever you see, that last second save come out a couple of times, it's mostly because we can't seem to get in position fast enough. And that's, I think, partly due to the speed of this one player, Sosa, making that much of a difference.
And that's what I want to kind of ask about and hear a little bit more of your insight on is, if your rotations are struggling that heavily to be able to keep up, because I think historically, looking at the word this team is so much faster was to some extent an argument of mechanics, which is kind of, in my opinion, whittled away as time has gone on in Rocket League. And now it's become more of a conversation of the rotations. And as you pointed out, well, then that's an element of boost typically. But if you're being starved out and constantly getting pressured like that, there's no way you're going to recover on that. So what's the solution? Do you cut a rotation? Do you take an absurd challenge, like even like a half lip opportunity if one comes up to you, or what?
Well, this is like the age-old dilemma a lot of times for teams. At least when I was playing, I struggled so much with understanding this because it was so hard to pretty much analyze when this is even happening to you because you have no boost and you get frustrated. You almost have to swallow your pride. You have to accept the fact that the other team currently is faster than you and the mechanics are pretty much a step ahead of you. And once you can do that, you slow down your pace a bit, you take smarter decisions, and you conserve your boost more. But if you keep trying to go for that route where it's like, I can outpace these guys, it doesn't matter what's happening, I know we can beat them to the ball, then you're just going to keep wasting more and more boost. You're going to be out of position that much more, and you're going to struggle immensely on the offensive side. So pretty much, Wade, what I'm saying is you just have to calm down a bit, slow down your pace, and swallow that pride.
I do think that the self-awareness is the first step in that equation, and I can't help but feel like that's the one that's missing more often than not.
Yeah. Well, and that's what missed the most for me. I feel like whenever I would get outpaced when I was playing competitively, all I wanted to do was be like, okay, you know what? I felt like everything changed from a 3v3 into a 1v1 with everybody on the other team, I was trying to show that I can keep up with them out of frustration and sheer annoyance.
I definitely can respect that, and we'll see if that's something that maybe plagues Alpine here in game number 2. Opportunities existing a little bit more abundantly than maybe they had in game number 1. A couple of cool passing plays from Percy over to Jordan and stuff, just barely not lining up. Another there with Percy to Magic. But nothing that has been fruitful here yet for the Alpine roster. Awkward, no opportunity there for Percy. Does find a way to be able to bounce it up and maybe set something up. Really good denied there from Rodoko. Not allowing for that ceiling touch, hitting the lip down that we've been kind of addressing. No way.
Oh, okay. I got a little bit scared using that air roll the whole time on the air dribbling. Now we're transitioning out a bit slower, but we have Jordan here to do something magical in the air off the ceiling. He's deadly. Doesn't get it this time, but it was a solid opportunity. Took his strike, and we continue to push on with our pressure.
Good clear there, denying Magic Bear. Magic Bear actually getting a pass opportunity. Rodoko is going to meet the ball first. CPS not able to find the duck into the goal. He is behind the players of Alpine here, but Jordan is unable to make it past the midfield, and suddenly potential pass. Jordan denies it. 26 seconds for Alpine Esports to be able to tie this up. Otherwise, they find themselves down 0-2 in this series.
And that'll be even worse because this seems to be a team that we struggle to close out games with. So completing a reverse sweep against these guys whenever we have issues with that is not going to be the best challenge for our characteristics. But we've got the final 3 seconds. Nice little pass into the middle. Jordan almost gets the flick out. Magic Bear, then the final shot bounces off the ground. Possibly would have slipped in, but the Knights take the game 2-0.
I'd love to see what could have happened there at that very end play. I don't know if you noticed as Jordan went up, I think he got one extra touch that Percy wasn't expecting, which I think is the average plat, diamond, and champion player's plight from beginning to end. Is I know this is a pass. The question is how far up to it can I move before you give me the opportunity to threaten that ball, right? And it's always dependent on the defense and everything there, but just hitting it a little bit too far to where Percy was no longer kind of a threat on that play. But at the end of the day, PK able to turn it down and deny it, set themselves up here to be 2-0. And, we were talking about the 3 streaks of 1-goal games that happened in the regional, and they seem to be a lot more formidable here in the series here today.
Yeah, and well, if we're going to start this reverse sweep, we need to come out in the first few seconds with, I don't even want to say better speed, because like I mentioned before, sometimes you just have to accept the fact that you can't outpace the other team. You have to play this like a game of chess. Take your opportunities, scarce as they are, take them slowly and make sure you're putting on a quality shot early on. Rodoko with the air dribble dunk attempt doesn't get it. Jordan now able to recover out of the net and get a solid clear. He's going for a slower pace play. This is what I want to see. Slow ideas like this, where you realize you don't have any boost, you're not panicking, and you don't want to just instantly flood the ball out, but instead keep it close to you.
Yeah, that was definitely a panic moment a couple of seconds before, and good job by Jordan to identify that that was happening. Magic Bear denies ZPS from that double touch. Finds a way to be able to get it in the midfield too. See if he can get a third touch. Doesn't see. Oh, he does actually to set up a pass, but a little bit too deep there for anybody else on Alpine to make a play.
Even there, and for Jordan, you can see in the corner, he doesn't have any boost. You know, you're transitioning on offense. That's your time to make a strike, get a counterattack in, but with the pressure that we've been sustaining, all of our boost is gone. And the midfield boost, completely in favor of everybody on the Knights. Now Sosa. That's why you don't want to go up against the new roster of the Knights. Sosa is that much of a threat.
The verticality that man got on that ball immediately afterwards, like not from like a mechanical sense, like, oh my goodness, he air dribbled it so high. It's more the decision. He was very comfortable with sending that like miles into the air and almost using the downward momentum to carry it a little bit later. That touch in the midfield, almost getting Alpine past all three members of PK, but Percy unable to beat out Rodoko. Ball kind of dancing around, but it really does feel like it is the Pittsburgh Knights show.
We just don't know how to transition. I mean, we don't really have an opportunity for a counterattack. Like I mentioned before, whenever somebody's going forward with the ball on defense, we don't have the boost. All we have is just a big clear like this for Magic Bear. Going for a pass, it's not enough, and now everybody has to rotate back. Sosa, bit of patience in the midfield. That's a really good challenge for Percy. Maybe it'll lead into something. So far, we've got some pressure.
See if we can continue there. Rodoko did get the save, but an opportunity for a pass comes out there from Magic, but ZPS meets Jordan. Nothing is coming out of that for Alpine. Percy unable to get that dunk that he would have liked. And that maybe would have been a moment there, I feel like, a little bit, where Percy maybe could have gotten a bump or something as he's in front of the ball. That could have set him up. Jordan with a flip reset. But then it just falls away very, very quickly here for Alpine.
Man, even with the solo plays, we can't push this into a solo play territory, rather. Whenever we do push ourselves into the air, we just get stomped out. The Knights have us read. I truly think demos, to your point right now, that's what we need. We need the extra demos. G2 in this instance, since we just played them, it's fun to reference how they would approach this. I would have probably expected to see a lot more demos at this given time because their current strategy not working. DPS, the final shot coming out. 1 minute and 46 seconds left. This man is going to sink one in. This is match point for the Knights.
Very well done here from the Pittsburgh Knights. And on the note of demos, I think the players on Alpine have identified that. And that's purely from, if you noticed, almost about 10 seconds before you started bringing that up, Magic Bear ended up opting out of a passing play and then committed forward looking for demos. He only found himself one, and it wasn't necessarily the most significant member, but it was what it was available to him. So I would like to see if that decision kind of continues onward, because I do agree, you have to find a way. If your opponent's momentum is greater and faster than yours continuously, then what do you do to break that up? The answer is no longer try and match it. You have to genuinely disturb it. And that sweet few spawning seconds might be a good way to be able to do that. Pass almost comes through, but a great defense again here for the Knights.
Yeah, but who's going to step up to get some demos? Magic Bear. The defensive style hasn't been put out, but it's Percy and Jordan on the offensive side to string together a couple of passes.
I did not think Percy would be fast enough to be able to get around all three members of PK, but very well done. Good read there. And Alpine showing signs of life. I believe their second goal here in the entire series. A minute left. We'll see if they can send us to a game number 4.
Could be the key to revive ourselves in this series. Finally starting to gain some momentum. We've got Jordan off the backboard. Needs to get it clear. Oh, and the solo play this time is going to work out. Normally in this series, we would be getting beat in that situation. But now Magic Bear as well. The 1v1 plays. It's almost as if we've matched them at this given time, if not beat them, Dreadnought.
Yeah, great flip reset there to get that pass off. Catching Rodoko off a little bit, then the bump comes through from Jordan.
There it is.
I mean, flip resets, man. So very hard to read when you should challenge, when you should not. I feel like it's a bit Shakespearean in
Yeah.
challenge or not to challenge. That's always the question when the ball gets up that high and players of this caliber are sitting behind it.
So now we're starting to increase our mechanics. I mean, this is, like I mentioned, a 1v1 situation that we are winning, but not on the defensive side with the backboard reads. We've got ZPS with another stellar pass from Sosa.
To lean back there, hit the bottom section of his car too, killing so much of that momentum. I don't know the exact stats on this, and maybe that's something you know a little bit more detailed, but I know one thing that took me forever to learn about the game was how not all parts of the vehicle are equal, right? And the bottom being one of the weaker ones there is why that touch from Sosa was just a bit of a nudge upward.
Yeah, I've never even considered like the statistics of it. That's such an interesting point to understand how different it is. But we've got 8 seconds left, tied up. Can we force an OT? We've had a couple of good looks.
Oh, ZPS, no! No, the fake there, forcing out the defensive. I believe it was Jordan. He just overcommits a little bit too early there, letting go of the ball. And suddenly 2 seconds left, and Alpine have to score a goal if they want a chance in this series.
We need a good kickoff. Okay, this is going to stay up. Can we at least get to the ball? We can't. The Knights, a sweep right in our faces, but man, we almost had a chance at starting that incredible climb to the reverse sweep.
Yeah, it was, honestly, I just walk away from that whole series having a lot more, I don't want to say just respect, but almost a level of fear and intimidation of the new adjustments towards the PK roster. Because I don't look at Alpine today and go, it's just a really off day for them. I don't know. They can't keep it together. It was just honestly very good control and kind of dictation, as we've said over, I believe it was last series. Again, don't know if that's actually applicable to the situation, but just the control and enforcing their own tempo on the pitch was what PK did throughout all 15 minutes of that series.
Yeah, and I think that with the resilient play style that they did have in those final moments, still able to hold on to their mental game. They didn't seem to slip up when it came to those rotations. The thing that I'm amazed at is, the Knights had seen all of their players lose that 1v1 game for a couple of minutes to Alpine, when typically throughout that entire series, they had been dominant in that aspect. But that didn't shy them away from staying solid with their mechanics. They weren't like, okay, let's panic. Everybody has to switch up what we're doing. We're like, instead, they calmed down, took a couple of breaths, and were able to appropriately tackle the Alpine defense with the same strategy that's been working. And of course, in the final seconds, it breaks us down.
Yeah, and the thing I think that scares me now, looking at what we have ahead of us, Ghost coming up after our break, is just that Ghost has got an amazing defense, and we didn't really score much against PK. Now, there could be an argument to some of the best offense is the greatest defense, and that's what PK was kind of relying on there in that series. But it's going to be a very different play style, and one that it seems like Ghost is even, kind of more dominant with. So, again, we started today traditionally expecting, based on the results from the regional, that we would be at the bottom of this group. But I was hopeful after that G2 series. And now after that PK series, I mean, it was just, again, how much control they had was very, very impressive. But we're going to go to a commercial break here. Not really a commercial. We aren't going to run a commercial. I don't know why I said that. We're going to a break, and we will be back here. We're going to the Dreadnought commercial. And when we come back, we will, in fact, have our series up against Ghost. So stick with us.
Put it in the hours, won't you come over? Dying to know where you came from. We're breaking open. Feel like your future's just begun. And all I know is that we lost time. If we stay right here, we could free ourselves inside. We'll stay awake forever. We'll hide away where no one knows. Let's run away together. Just lead me into your world. We'll stay awake forever. We'll hide away where no one knows. Let's run away together on our own. Just lead me into your world. Waiting for no one. We're headed straight up for the sun. They'll never notice. We'll take these cities on our own. And all I know is that we lost time. If we stay right here, we could free ourselves inside. We'll stay awake forever. We'll hide away where no one knows. Let's run away together. Just lead me into your world. We'll stay awake forever. We'll hide away where no one knows. Let's run away together on our own. Just lead me into your world. Into your world. We'll stay awake forever. We'll hide away where no one knows. Let's run away together on our own. Just lead me into your world.
Don't wanna forget what you feel like, what you feel like. Don't wanna forget what you feel like, what you feel like. Tell me somebody how long he will be on my mind. He will be on my mind. He will be on my mind.
circles inside my head. Wasn't looking for love, but baby, I found you instead.
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. Dreadnought Turtle, as always. As you notice, we added a little time there. We're going to need a little bit more time, as Ghost and G2 have actually made it all the way to game number 5.
Game
So
5,
we are
baby.
we're just waiting for that to conclude, and then we will be right back. So again, stick with us. Thank you for tuning in, and we'll be here in a few minutes.
She found a way into my heart. Oh, oh, she don't make up, no, she make art. And I need a way to treat it, cause I keep getting high off of her. Off of her. I know that you'd be bad from the minute I saw you. But somehow I keep running back to you. Back to you. Back to
Welcome back here once more, ladies and gentlemen, to the second week of the or excuse me, I did that twice, man. The winter split. The fall split is
Unacceptable.
done. It is not fall, it's winter. It's getting cold.
F
Fall,
thought
oh
would
my gosh, the
never.
winter. Yeah, he
Where's
would
the
never.
get him? Who is
Get
this
this,
guy? What?
get the guy out of here.
Are you kidding me? This guy is almost as bad as Turtle, dude.
But
Disgusting.
but anyways, here the winter split again, as we've got two series down here for Alpine Esports. Been a bit of a rough day, but hoping to turn it around in the third series. I am Dreadnought as always here. I know you guys wish I was up top, but I'm not. I'm
Lies.
sorry. And
We
and
do
with
miss
me
that
as
though.
always is Turtle.
My
And
good sir.
Turtle, any thoughts on the day so far? Any notes? Any words of wisdom?
I mean, overall, I think we've seen pretty consistent results. Version 1 have actually 3-0'd KCP, but that's a little bit more expected as we actually we haven't even discussed this, but depending on the group you're in, group A actually starts a little bit earlier in the day, group B later, and so on and so forth. But I'm excited because I think that our group so far, we got a little bit of a wake-up call against Ghost Gaming, or not against Ghost Gaming, excuse me, against the Knights. So going into this one against Ghost Gaming, who just lost to G2, this could be a time to strike. Their mentality is a little bit low. They lost in a close game 5. We can get some momentum off this.
I very much agree with you. And, the roster of Ghost Gaming is very, very formidable, having a couple of players that have been known around the RLCS landscape for some time. But for me, this is something every single time we've seen them play as of late is they are the definition of defense. They seem to have something like
Right.
I believe the last time that Alpine played them, or the last two times, it has just been solid shot on miracle save 1 2 3 into suddenly it's not about whether or not Alpine can even deny them of goals as much as it is whether or not they can even get one in
Yeah.
the back of the net themselves.
Yeah, and their new pickup of Mekdos is
Yeah.
actually giving Lion Blaze, excuse me, a lot of space to do pretty much whatever he wants to do. Mekdos has always been a solid striker, solid shooter, but then whenever you put Lion Blaze up top with that 1v1 skill, he is deadly. I think he'll make the same impact, excuse me. Lion Blaze has the same impact factor as Sosa would. I mean, we just watched Sosa pretty much tear through the defense of Alpine
Yeah.
single-handedly. I think a lot of his touches had thrown off our rotations a lot, forced us to be very slow because he was instantly getting up with the fast aerials. And I think that's really where we went wrong. But it's like, how do you counter that? We had talked about it. You have to play the game a little bit more like chess. Make sure you're very calculated in your decisions. If Lion Blaze is up to that speed, we'll be dealing with the same issues. But you even mentioned in the previous series that coming up against Ghost Gaming, the more defensive team, it's going to be a different clashes of play styles. What do you mean by that?
I meant mainly, again, I kind of use the phrase that a lot of people kind of hold the idea that the best defense is an offense, right? If you bear possession, how do you ever get scored on? Is
Yeah.
kind of some of the thought process behind it. And I feel like that is what we saw a lot of out of Pittsburgh Knights was the opportunity to just, as long as they keep it up, and even G2, right? As long as they just keep throwing it at our back wall, eventually something is going to set them up for a solid goal. And with Ghost, I'm not arguing these guys don't have the ability to score as much as it feels like, can you score against them? They aren't
Yeah.
relying on their offense to be their defense. They're relying on their defense to be just that, the defense. And, they'll do whatever they can when it comes to the offensive play. And to me, that seems like it should be different in how
Right.
that is approached and played against. Though it may in practice bear the same results, when it comes to execution, it should be kind of a different paradigm. And
Yeah.
that's what, I'd be interested if you have any tips and tricks on what you think is the difference between those.
I think I would make the argument that this better supports the Alpine play style. I mean, I say play
Okay.
style all the time. I think it gets a little bit overused because a lot of teams use pretty much the same tactics. But Alpine, whenever they're pushing forward, especially against the Knights, you notice we didn't have any boost. We couldn't keep up with that speed. Now Ghost Gaming, they're going to prioritize making sure the rotations go towards their own end a bit more instead of kind of trying to throw themselves in our half. And I
Yeah.
think that'll give us a lot more opportunities. It felt like Magic Bear, we barely saw any individual skill sets or any individual skills, excuse me, from Jordan. We saw one flip reset from Magic Bear, I think, throughout that entire series that opened up a shot, but that's pretty much it. Coming out here,
Yeah.
we're going to get a lot more boost. I think the midfield boost is going to be much easier to control. And therefore, even if the defense is that much more of a struggle, we'll be able to have a much more comfortable rotation, getting the midfield boost, going in for some nice aggression, and then getting out. And that's the play style that Alpine want to have instead of being forced to their own end the entire time.
And I think in that sequence, that sequence that you kind of listed there about having the boost opportunities and allows you to get in, I think what I see being the strength of Ghost is the last piece, as it's easy to not get out.
Yeah.
I think that they seem to have such a defensive strength that it almost puts them in a position to where you can get baited into thinking you have that goal and have your
Yeah.
third man move up into a position. And if your first has not already started that rotation, they will find a way to just transition the ball over. And it's not always an immediate transition goal, but it's that is where they look to kind of strike. And I
Yeah.
do agree with you. My hot take would be I believe that by giving a little bit more room in the midfield and giving more boosts, that when Alpine isn't being choked out through offensive possession, we're more likely to have our strengths kind of shine.
Yes.
But it's still something that causes me to pause again, just with how successful Ghost has seemingly been since they've kind of made their adjustments and have been performing over the past couple of weeks.
Right. I mean, my question to you is, I mean, you know the boys on Alpine better than anybody else. You've been spending a lot more time with them. How do you think their approach to this game is going to be? Do you even think it'll be different because of the previous two losses? Are we the type of team that'll get a little bit more down on themselves, or does Mystic, excuse me, do a great job of keeping that morale high?
I mean, the fine details on game day, I don't always get exactly right. I can definitely say that I would expect Mystic to be a human being
Yeah,
who absolutely can keep the mentality high, keep the
definitely.
mental in check. I think it would be focusing on the out. Is do not worry about anything other than if we do go for those offensive plays, don't be being baited into what looks like it could be a shot here and making sure that you're genuinely just
Yeah,
rotating. And I feel like that is such a well, duh kind of statement to say, but in practice, always making sure that those rotations are coming through and that your first is pulling back at the appropriate time as your third is
yeah.
transitioning up is not nearly as easy, right? I think we hear commentators, all the time be like rotations, 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 and it's like, but what does that mean? And
Yeah.
execution of those things are, I think, a lot harder than they are kind of said.
So you think it's more about the awareness of when we take our opportunities. So if you've got, say
Yes.
Magic Bear trying to be aggressive as the third man, he's been reading plays very well so far today against G2 most notably. But you're trying to basically allude to how he decides to move forward and win. Because a lot of times Ghost Gaming, their defense is that good. You think you've got a good strike on net, a good opportunity, but instead they get it clear over your head, a better counterattack comes your way, and your net's wide open.
Yeah. Yeah, and I don't think it always translates as clearly as that, but yeah, I do really think it comes down to like sometimes you may have the opportunity to really send the house and
Mm,
really commit at a time where you may not have that defensive posture, but in those moments, it seems like that is where Ghost really stands out. Like I would
right.
argue in my mindset, like some of the things I would like to see is I actually think it needs to be a solo play. I say solo play. I mean a
Okay.
mechanically flashy play and more outlier play, like we saw in the last series. I believe it was a Magic Bear flip reset to be a pass off the back wall. I
Yeah.
think that is what's necessary. It is never going to be the first strike, no matter how flashy it is, that actually breaks down Ghost. It is the flashy play to bait two of them that then sets up your player to have the one on one and confirm the goal, or the two people out of position to confirm that goal. And that's what I
Okay.
personally would like to see. And I think, again, kind of directly relates to
Right.
what is the third man doing and the second man doing with those plays and when are they moving up?
Yeah, I mean, that is something that Alpine, whenever we're on point with the mechanics and with those solo plays, we tend to pop off. And we're actually going to take a look at how efficiently we're going to do that against Ghost Gaming. That is our next matchup. We're just waiting on all the players to get into the lobby. So please be patient. We appreciate you being here and listening to Dread and I just talk about the what ifs, because it's always fun to ponder about how these boys are going to start to pop off. Alpine, I'll say it again. I said earlier that Jordan was, a player who's probably going to surprise the most people. If you were to ask me again in RLCS, who has that shock potential where out of nowhere a player that you don't expect to have those crazy mechanics hits you with a flip reset, double fake, off the ceiling, going for the backboard double tap, things like that. Jordan comes to mind. But then even considering rosters as a whole, Alpine,
Yeah.
these guys are fuming with potential.
Yeah. And, with potential, it's super important that that translates to be something kinetic, and I think that that's what they're kind of working on. I don't want to make this sound as a burn because I don't feel like it very much is. But for me, that was something I think even back when I was hosting Dream Hacks, I made a comment about potential is to me one of the more offensive words you can say because you're indicating to me I haven't made what I can do
Okay.
a
Okay.
reality,
Yeah.
right? And I know that's like such a dour and like dark
That makes sense.
cutthroat way
Makes
to
complete
view it,
sense.
but it's like to me it's like I have that. How do I translate that? And by calling me potential, you're almost taunting me. You're saying you could do more,
Mm.
right? And so for me,
Mm.
I think that has been the thing when looking at Alpine that they have really been working on. And I do think there absolutely has been success into taking that into making it
Yeah.
something. Um, but I can't help but feel like right now the question is at what pace does that continue, right? And as we
Yeah.
know in development, there's always going to be two steps forward, one step back kind of thing. But yeah, overall, I absolutely agree. The roster is very, very, very successful when it comes to their opportunities with potential, and I think it's finding that consistency in those moments and making those moments minutes and those minutes games and those games series,
Right.
right? And then that series a tournament, and that's where I think this roster will really go from great to when you say the top four, you're looking at them, right? They're one of those
Yeah.
teams.
It almost reminds me of like whenever somebody comes up to you after you attempt a challenge or attempt something, and instead of just like, I would rather have them just say nothing instead of being like, "Oh, good try there. That was a nice attempt." You know what I mean? It's like,
Yeah.
okay, I didn't hit that peak. I'm not at that performance. Why bother? It's just like saying it's almost like a reminder that I didn't perform the way I wanted to. You know what I mean? In the same
Yeah.
sense of saying somebody has potential, it's like we're not there yet.
Yeah.
Which is
And
frustrating.
it is. And I think it's even, less in the scope of I think Alpine, but just looking at that phrase and that concept, like to me, is genuinely just a multitude of people typically stick with the term potential when like everybody agrees that there's so much more. And it's like given enough time, like there is no set amount of time where you look at that and you consider it to be failed,
Yeah.
right? So like how much in your own mind can you set for yourself before it was like, okay, well,
Yeah.
I'm not quite there yet, right? And it's like, how much does the audience and the individuals maybe saying that? Like, it's always just been a weird statement of just you highlighting, I could do better and I
Yeah.
didn't.
Yeah, I
And
agree.
me trying to wrestle with that.
Well, it's almost like I feel like it's a better perspective. We're ranting really hard about this. I just wanted to go on about the potential idea, but the way I view it is that Dreadnought is a beautiful beast, and I'm not even gonna go further down this rabbit hole. I was about to hit you with some
With the
philosophical
hard
stuff.
truths,
Oh my goodness, I was about to go in. I had the thoughts in my head, but now that I have blanked, the only thing I can notice is this beautiful sweatshirt that I'm wearing. Is this not amazing? It's like literally one of the comfiest sweatshirts, if not the comfiest that I own. I already talked about it's thick as heck and it keeps me nice and snug. So exclamation mark merch in the chat. F dot, you're not F dot.
I'm not. Hey, look, we're all sad about
Why
it.
does this keep happening? I don't
It's
know
because you're
why.
highlighting, and we're gonna go full circle here. You're highlighting my potential. I'm not quite as.
No, not the potential. No, not the potential. This is not what we look for. Okay, I
uh,
don't miss F dot as much as I love you. I don't know what that means,
I
but
don't know
it
either. I
it
was looking
means
for
something.
interpretation. A reminder here for everybody: when we do conclude with our series up against Ghost, we are in fact continuing down our MNVO
Yes,
field trip. And thank you everybody from the MNVO for tuning in. Hopefully you haven't gotten too distracted from the wanderings of my and Turtle's brain
that's right.
throughout this opener here.
Taking a
Uh,
voyage through our thoughts.
yes, but we will be taking some questions, not us specifically, but actually we'll be taking the players, Magic Bear and Jordan will be taking some questions that you guys had submitted. I believe we got 4 of those, as well as a show match with some of the top teams out of MNVL itself. I'm not going to lie, I didn't quite catch what was said. Help.
Oh, we got some bad news.
Ooh.
We got some bad news, Dreadnought. You want
We-
you want to you want to share it? I don't want to be the one to bear it.
Yes, we were just informed by the production, and thank you, production, for letting us know that in fact the timer for the next round is actually 12 minutes out. And so because of that, I don't think we're entertaining enough for you guys to consume us for 12 minutes.
Definitely not.
if you guys disagree, go ahead and let us know with some cat jams in the chat. But we'll be back in a couple of minutes, and I promise, next time we come back, we will have the series of Ghost Gaming up against Alpine Esports. Stick with us. Thank you.
Came from a broken home. I've seen so many people go. Learn to make it on my own. It's easier for me to be alone. So how are you? Keep cutting through. Claiming you're not like the other guys. And only if I could give you a chance. Show me that you mean it. We'll feel some type of way. Tu continues tout de même de montrer tes efforts. I'm trying to keep my heart in peace. I just can't think but the way that I feel. It's too hard to trust. I mess it up. I just can't risk to be falling like this. Oh, ooh. Why do you keep chasing clouds? Ooh. If I could change my mind. I said, ooh, why do you keep chasing clouds? Gotta live before I feel something, ooh, before I could change my mind. I said, ooh, why do you keep chasing clouds? Gotta live before I feel something, ooh, before I could change my mind. I said, ooh, why do you keep it? Ooh, you make me wanna change my mind. Did we take it too far to say that we could not pretend now? Was it never enough to have just everything you want? In your shadow I found a place to hide me from my own thoughts. And if I ever got lost, you find a way to bring me home. And I want something I can hold, that's worth this waiting cold. And I want something that is real, something to make me feel alive.
Welcome back to the grid here, ladies and
We're
gentlemen.
back.
Week number 2. We've been waiting the legendary series here between Alpine Esports and Ghost Gaming. and we believe it is soon to come to fruition. I believe last time I heard the lobbies are getting set up here, so very, very exciting. We've said a lot about it here, Turtle. Based on today's performances so far, recent results between the two teams, do you think Alpine has what it takes? Be honest with us. That was a deep inhale. He's just gonna hold it until he passes
I
out.
wanted to see how long I could go without you saying anything.
Dude,
Why did
look,
you not?
look,
I
my
was
friend. One thing a lot of people in commentary don't get comfortable with early on is negative space. And you learn eventually negative space has a place and a time, and that was one of them. And I was
trying to make
I was
a
ready.
funny joke where you'd be like, "Turtle, hello, hello," but instead, you just left me out there to dry.
Yeah, man.
What the heck? I'm gonna be honest with you, man. I think it's gonna go the distance. I'm really not sure who's gonna take this. I can 100% see it either way. I think Ghost Gaming are coming off of a tough Game 5 loss against G2. I don't think they're gonna be too down on themselves. They did get swept by PK, just like us. We had a solid series against G2. I mean, we're really in the exact same lane.
Okay, I think that's fair. The today's results do make this seem like it is, a blow for blow series
Yeah.
here. And again, I talked a lot about some of the defensive fears, and that's something I'm going to be keeping track of. A lot of the rotations from Alpine when they're committing offensively, when they are not committing offensively. But yeah, I think it's going to be super interesting. And as you talked about, Lion Blaze, when it comes to some of its offensive pressure, whether or not he relies on his individual skill and his 1v1 background to be kind of the standout player and enabling the remainder of the roster.
Definitely. Yeah, that's going to be the key difference. I had made the comparison between Lion Blaze and Sosa. Sosa was a massive participant on the roster of the Knights, coming in on offense, basically winning every single challenge. His speed was pretty hard to match for anybody on Alpine, which says something because we are a very mechanical team. Coming out here, I don't think Lion Blaze has the same speed. I don't think the mechanics are as good on Ghost Gaming as they were for the Knights, but you had mentioned it yourself. The defense, that's where they shine. They are going to be a brick wall that we need to basically place TNT all over. And the only way to place that TNT, like you said, things like flip resets. We need crazy mechanics off the ceiling from Jordan. And also the ceiling passes. That's something that we saw against G2 in game 1. If we can utilize the ceiling in the same way, I think that would be a great step in the right direction.
Yeah, and I don't know why I kind of slipped the mind before, but referring to TNT and the explosions as a byproduct of it did make me wonder. It does seem with some of the defensive capabilities of Ghost that they would be more prone to being demoed.
Yeah.
Just defense.
Exactly.
You get demoed defensively way more than you do offensively, right?
Yes,
Just because your
yes.
positioning is a lot more predictable. And so I think that would be another variable here. And that historically has been a Magic Bear role to be more of the demoer seeking after the rotation, after he moves up as the first man or second. But then also today, it does seem like it's been less prominent. And so I want to pose the question of, do you think that should be fulfilled by anybody else? Like, let's say that we sustain and, Magic Bear is maybe not the human being to be able to capitalize on that demoing. Who would you look to elsewhere on Alpine to be able to get that?
Previously, I had mentioned Jordan, but the more that I think about it, I would consider Percy. I'm not sure if you agree. It's really close, but I would consider Percy to be more aggressive. You can already see him going out of the net, and right away, we've got a Magic Bear pop-off.
8 seconds deep. Alpine here. Definitely bringing it to him. Now, it should be noted, I don't think that touch was forced to be as awkward as it came out there from Freshness. A bit of a misplay on his behalf. But you know what? At the end of the day, great teams are those that always capitalize when their opponents do make a mistake. So good start there. A little bit of a weird moment there from Alpine. Jordan goes up for a flip reset, kind of gets a bit wonky. Percy doesn't really make much happen, burns a lot of boost, but it doesn't seem to cost Alpine too much here quite yet, because they still seem to sustain possession.
Oh, and the speed. We can tell this is a different game than the one we just played. We are winning aerials so easily. Magic Bear has, Mektos up in the air? It's not even close. Off the back foot, we've got an easy setup.
That was very well done. Good job by Jordan being in position after realizing there was no way with how much momentum Magic Bear had going in the opposite direction, that he was going to get around for that double touch. And we'll see if it continues. 2 goals in 30 seconds. And what a clean
Lovely
push out there from Magic and Jordan. Jordan just dishing it out to Magic Bear and launching it deep. And look at Magic actually moving up for those bumps. So maybe that was a core part of the thought process here.
I mean, that's something that we're used to seeing. Maybe that was something Mystic or the team decided to put in place, which would be great. You know, I like the position that Magic Bear was in. His defense was impeccable against G2, but we also do need that physicality. And Jordan and Percy, can certainly hold their own on the backboard. We'll see how that comes into play as this series and this first game goes on. As we're up 2-0.
I believe a demo came through there a couple seconds, which is why Magic Bear really didn't have any support on the offensive half. Magic Bear, man, the pace at which he's getting those challenges. That guy came out, that launch had to have been beyond midfield. So he had the read very, very early and was willing to be very aggressive on that. And it's worked out for them so far. Can't help but feel like that does kind of fall into the, you know, I was talking about the rotations and do we bite off a little bit more than we can chew in situations? And again, it has been good so far, but that is got to be something that sticks in the back of their minds.
That was a scary opportunity as well. The back pass attempt, I think that was from Jordan, but it worked out. We talked about back passing a few series ago. And, you know, I think that we've kept this possession, or at least a calm atmosphere on defense because of that possession.
Ektos here. Did he get the reset? I believe he did. Second dodge comes through. Double commit on the half of Alpine. Jordan does get it out into the corner, but could cost him enough boost to be a problem in a few seconds. Pass over to Percy, and he launches it deep. So Alpine going to keep holding on here to their 2-0 lead.
Oh, Jordan, the speed. Lion Blaze had that save, but Jordan popped up so quick to get the second follow-up, and now we're able to keep our offense still approaching the goal line as Freshness goes for a cheeky little airdrop that could have been deadly, and yet we're not panicking on defense. As we're sustaining this pressure, it looks very scary, I'll give it that, but you know, the boys at Alpine are quick to rotate out even after they've been put in an uncomfortable situation.
Yeah, and that save from Jordan a couple of seconds ago was very, very clean. I don't know if anybody had noticed, but he was actually being threatened on a bump, so he decided to go all the way up. What do we refer to that? The back of the net? And then just take the loop, and he actually got the dodge. Yeah, he just went all the way up the back of the net and got the dodge out late to make sure he got that save. And it's not the most challenging play on planet Earth. I feel like it's the timing that's always so hard to make sure that if you don't have any boost, you have to commit to the dodge. And especially if the ball's moving out past that back wall towards the center field at a fast pace, it's hard to keep up with.
That has been a difference, I think, is the recovery. I mean, you said driving in the back of the net, that was a great play, and now we've seen Jordan actually get bumped into the back field. Now he's able to recover after the bump, still get a solid clear. It seems like the Alpine defense is used to that pressure that the Knights were throwing at him, and we're going into the Ghost Gaming series like, look, we've dealt with worse pressure. You know, nothing's going to make us panic at this.
Yeah, we've got the, you know, kind of bat weights taken off, and it's time to actually swing. There was a moment a couple of seconds ago with the decision not to take the challenge and actually play it a little bit slower and give the hit over on the wall out from
Magic
Jordan.
Bear almost power slide. Did you see the power slide from Magic Bear?
Yes.
I'm not sure. That could have been so dirty.
Power slides are, for me, one of the harder things to totally understand when I am gaining an advantage. And I think this is from my own personal play rather than consuming it. Is like, when am I actually hurting myself versus helping? And I feel like that is one of the better nuances, almost a pass there to Lion Blaze, that happens at this level of play that I think a lot of players don't fully understand until they really try and master the game of Rocket.
That's a firecracker as well into our top corner. So we had a nice little clear from Magic Bear, but nobody was following up. You'll notice 2 players rotating over the same boost. Instead, we need somebody to follow up that touch from Magic Bear. Even if you don't get a touch, you have to try to make the other player force a mistake or force a worse hit into our corner instead of putting one on.
15 seconds left. Alpine still with their lead. We'll see if this becomes a problem so far. Every time the ball has been a 0-second ball, it's been in favor of Alpine due to them being on a losing side of the equation. But now that they have the advantage, see if they can confidently get it down. This has been something that's been questionable.
Oh my.
Yeah, and that's what I was trying to get at before that came through. Is it's been really hard to confirm victories, it seems like, over the past few weeks for Alpine in moments like that. And again, it strikes Lion Blaze here, sets it 2-2. Game number 1 finding its way into overtime.
And it's almost like robbery. I mean, this felt completely like a Alpine win. We looked at the pressure, we looked at how we're passing in comparison. It seems like Alpine haven't beaten every department, but like you mentioned, you have to close out the game. You've got to keep the consistency up. We broke our rotations a bit, got a bit panicked, and had 2 players going for the same boost multiple times. It caught us, and now we're in overtime, but we can still clutch this out. Our momentum has not stopped. Percy with a nice little rotation. I like the aggression I've seen from him.
But he's able to push that one out a little bit farther and not downward off that ceiling, which caused him to go kind of around it in an awkward fashion. Talking about awkward, Jordan just bullying here in that corner, constantly throwing himself at the ball. Magic came through as well. This is a little bit of that kind of bait on the defensive half that I was worried about. It seems like Alpine committing a little bit too much for a moment, but it hasn't cost them quite yet. Jordan kind of filling around there, unable to make anything happen. That being said, Ghost doing the same. Freshness basically on top of Lion Blaze.
That was something I saw. Oh my goodness, what a touch from Jordan. Sorry to cut you off. I was just going to mention Freshness. I saw him going for some 50s only, basically in the winter regional event. All of this man was doing was taking challenge after challenge in the midfield, which created so many offensive opportunities for Ghost Gaming.
An opportunity here as it almost crosses the net. Magic Bear will turn that one down, send it to the midfield. Percy's going to catch it. Lion Blaze sends it right over to the corner. Percy not done quite yet. Gets into a bit of a battle. Mektos doing his best there. Jordan takes 2 challenges, sends almost a pass, but just fast enough for, I believe it was Mektos, to be unable to get to the ball. Lion Blaze comes through. Not quite sure. I don't think a touch came through there, just quite, barely off of the net.
Lovely speed from Percy to get out of the net so quickly. He was able to find a challenge. It wasn't super close to the ball, but he predicted that shot placement, kept us in this overtime. We've got a Ghost Gaming that has increasingly become more threatening on the offensive side. 50s like that from Mektos that go across our net are what we're trying to avoid. Thankfully, we escape with it now, but the pressure is still continuous from Ghost Gaming.
Yeah, it is very much so. It seems to just keep increasing as time goes on here. And, you know, that all started from one awkward touch on the wall from Magic Bear, not going quite where he wanted and pinching outward. That kept that much pressure. Great pass opportunity here out from Ghost. Mektos is just going to keep it in.
He doesn't have any boost.
And that is it. Game number 1 here, going over to Ghost Gaming. And look at that backwards pass.
Wow.
Nice little left roll from Lion Blaze. Or, excuse me, that wasn't Lion Blaze. Who was that? Freshness over there?
I believe
maybe it was
so.
Lion Blaze.
I mean, either way, it still was a beautiful little pop out. And then Magic Bear had come across in the top of the box, got a bump. The physicality was nice, but I don't think he had any boost to recover after that. Jordan also starved out of boost, couldn't make that save. If our corner had been up, that split second he's rotating back, Jordan would have been able to get the save, had a solid clear, keep us in OT. Instead, we couldn't find any pads, any boost control, and we end up dropping game 1.
Yeah, and I feel like, you know, you go back to the VOD of that one and you can't help but feel like looking at I believe it was 16 seconds kickoff into 1-goal lead, that's the moment where if you're really looking at what could we have done different, I can't help but feel like finding ways to be able to secure that from not being, I don't want to say it was easy, because that isn't true. It was a good shot. It was a nice setup, but it was not unpredictable. I think, you know, Correct. It was foreseeable. And I think that is the area that, you know, that kind of stuff that I feel like, honestly, it does hurt Alpine. I think that they have so much skill and potential, but a lot of games go against them because I would say what are a little bit easier mistakes like that.
Well, that type of play has happened to me so much in my career. I feel like every time I've gotten in a important position whenever I was competing, I would end up, you know, my team would end up throwing essentially at 0 seconds. Mostly it was me, to be honest. But once that happens one time, that's the struggle of it. You know, now Alpine is going to come out into a game. The question is, when there's 30 seconds left, we have the lead. Will they have that conscious thought of, okay, this happened last game, it can happen again to us, let's live it and play in fear, versus, okay, we're going to stay confident, keep the aggression up.
Pre-jump here out from Mektos. If he had a little bit more boost, could have had a pretty threatening challenge there. Magic Bear trying to get a special play, gets one touch up to the backboard and baby dunk, if you will, there on the back wall. Percy ends up getting around, barely able to dodge the dunk attempt from Lion Blaze. Percy still having a little bit of boost, gets the pre-jump into that dunk there, sets up a pass opportunity, but nobody around. Mektos takes it back here to the Alpine half.
I like the demos. I believe it was Percy, and also Magic Bear just got physical contact. Percy had just gone for an attempt on net, but we need that into the rotation. That's what was missing against the Knights, truthfully. If we can keep the speed up as well as incorporate those demos that we have constantly talked about over the span of pretty much this whole week in the grid, you can expect a better result from Alpine, as that's one heck of a pass from the corner. The control from Magic Bear to keep this on his hood and then get the little dish out. Lovely.
Yeah, really well done there. And to not go up a little bit too ambitiously out from Jordan, secure that one in. You know, what many players would look at as some of the easier shots, but I can't help but feel like we've all been that player who ends up slamming that up a little bit too high and too hastily.
I was getting flashbacks to Rizzo. I mean, that play from Magic Bear was exactly.
Yeah, the corner threat.
Down. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I think that's very fair. Getting bits and pieces of it. I don't feel like it, you know, it's as in line with how much wall control and corner control it seemed like G2 had, but definitely bits and pieces of it kind of sprinkled across the play here. Double commit, see if the pass opportunity comes through. Great job by Magic Bear denying it, sets it up a little bit high, but Percy stepping up to the plate and helping stop Ghost Gaming here on their offensive attempts.
Jordan, oh, nice little mind game. Getting in their heads out. I want to see us slow it down more like that as well. Because we had discussed we need solo plays. Whether it's the flip resets from Magic Bear, any form of mechanics. It's Lion Blaze now to sneak it under our defender. I thought we had a challenge, but it was a little bit too, I would say, hopeful. I don't know. Who was this that was thinking the ball was going to bounce up? I'm not sure who that was, but we needed to get a challenge.
It was Percy, and judging by that end of that replay, that had to have been, but I definitely agree with you there. Caught him off guard, not nearly as high of a ball, maybe just a bit of a misread. But it comes at a cost. Find ourselves 1-1 here in game number 2. Uh-oh, great opportunity there for Ghost. Good denial from Magic Bear. Percy sends it over to Magic. Magic now. Interesting that Jordan doesn't move up at all there. Freshness does get a touch. I guess the answer is he could have boomed it a little bit deeper there, and it'd be a problem if he had moved up, but I think that's the pleb in me that was like, okay, I take this challenge.
I mean, I think that was a smart decision. Nonetheless, Jordan now in the air, the speed. Let's see what Percy has in store. The shot blocked out from Freshness. Almost got contact with the back of the net. Could have been something special. But again, this is a game where Alpine had taken the lead early on, but struggled to hold consistently.
Yeah, I really love the choice there from Jordan on that shot to aim low, recognizing that was the only way it was going to go in. Did get denied, double tap, not going to make it through. Magic does get the save, but somebody else coming up there. The common, you know, when you get an awkward save like that, if you don't get it too far out, it's going to be an easy save. I mean, it was well done by Magic, right? He made something happen with what he had, but just with the double commit in that position, that means that the second shot's going to be a nice and easy one.
He had given us an opportunity, gave us a second to make up for our lack of positioning, but you know, I think that onslaught of pressure was too much for us to handle. Ghost Gaming, that's a solid job of understanding where they need to push up and win. You know, they had seen that we were scrambled and decided to push that full offensive line forward. We need to do the same, but we can't even get pressure right now, which we're struggling. But that is a banger of a shot. Jordan, how are you going to say this? I don't think you can, Dreadnought.
No, I don't think you can. And this is the second goal of this game that's Magic to Jordan. Again, the player that we talked about showing up at times with, you know, that one not even being that mechanically demanding, but just a really clean read and shot coming through. A lot of power there, really great placement. Well done.
Dude, I feel like Alpine doesn't do that as much as maybe we should, is those huge clears to the massive redirect. You know what I mean? I feel like a lot of our plays result into a goal just from us holding pressure in the corners, but never a quick counterattack. Speaking of counterattacks, look at Mektos here getting a quick one in.
Yeah, that was well done here. Coming off and just finding a way to barely get that pass and beat Jordan. But I definitely, I think I agree with you on the. I don't know if that comes out of, and this is where I will fully admit your expertise would be super helpful to understand that situation. But I think the concern out of those sidewall clears, right, the save into the sidewall touch,
Yeah.
is you're already past 2 defenders or at least 1 in every situation for the guy on the wall, right? More often than not, which I think is the fear of what if we don't get this clear how we want? Where does that put us defensively?
And somebody's up top waiting for a pass and it doesn't come out, so now you just left one person rotating in to get a save. I know exactly what you're talking about, and I think that's just reading the play. You have to have full confidence that that clear is going to work out, and you have to take the chance. I think that's important as a team to take that risk to have somebody all the way up top, but you need to do it very decisively.
Yeah, I think that's very, very fair there. A lot of physical contact here. Magic Bear trying to do his best to recover. 9 seconds left. Percy able to get it by Freshness, but Mekto sends it back. Last opportunity kind of here, and it seems like Freshness did a great job baiting it there and just sending it down.
Oh, yeah.
As Ghost Gaming walks away here with game number 2.
Man, another solid start for Alpine. Things looking up, but it's the closing out that we seem to struggle with. I'm impressed really with Alpine and the way that they have been playing with the demos. Things have been taken into account from our previous series. We saw the play from Magic Bear that was similar to the one of Rizzo. We also have seen more demos, so there's adaptations on the field, Dreadnought, but it doesn't feel like that's enough if we can't obviously close out the series.
And that's where I want to ask you, and this is kind of what I was hinting at before, but I didn't want to get too muddy as the game was unfolding, is, the idea of goals is win conditions, right? In those situations is ignoring the win condition element, because I think that just might be how my brain views things. If you get up a goal, how many goals do you need to be up before you change your gameplay? Because it could be argued your gameplay in the first place is why you're already in an advantageous position, right? Like, do you shift it up?
I think that is such like a detailed question that you can go into, because this is why I love this game. It's because what you could get a goal in this game off of the dumbest thing. You could have no possession, you have no pressure. All of a sudden, you roll one in and you're up 1-0. Now the question is, do I continue with that play style? Most likely not. But then again, if it works, it works. So you can go down either route, Dreadnought. But in this instance, I think that you just keep being tenacious with the ball and being aggressive. I remember specifically back to this Renault Vitality game where Fairy Peak, I think they had just won some semifinals match at a lane. And he had said on stage, the only thing our coach was telling us was to keep up the pressure and stay resilient. We didn't want to give them any time, any space. We just threw everything we had at them and kept that style no matter what the results were.
Yeah. And that would be, I believe, Gregan, correct? At that point in time?
Yes, that was.
Yeah, definitely smart words coming out from a smart man there. Jordan, my goodness, stepping up. The last 3 goals here from Alpine, all coming out from him. This one a little bit more special on his own there. Nice job getting under that to just bop it up a little bit there and put it in the top right corner.
Yeah, and this is when we need it the most. Jordan starting to show off a bit, get that flashy play out, because we know this man has those mechanics. Hit it in a way, but they're going to come out certainly if he puts his mind to it, which he has definitely done so all day long. Been impressed with everybody from Alpine, but we haven't gotten the results obviously we want, but we're still playing well, and that's what makes me think that reverse sweep is certainly possible. We've scored early on. I think we've scored first actually in every single game so far. It's just a matter of keeping that pressure up.
They're looking to do so this time. Magic Bear with a nice double touch kind of down. Mektos actually getting the follow-up here. Has an opportunity. Going to be denied by Jordan second time. Same touch that we saw on that shot. Ends up saving Alpine here for a bit. Ambitious attempt there to defend coming out from Magic. Flip reset from Percy. That's actually the 3rd reset this series, a 2nd one this game from Percy. You can tell that he's like an element of what I was discussing before, where I think we need that kind of flashy play to be able to help break down that defense. I don't know if that's conscious or just happenstance that it's falling on his lap. And Jordan as well, both of them. I mean, look at this. Not going to fully get the reset there, but clearly identifying something needs to be done to set up the offense.
Magic Bear got a reset there as well. I mean, the mechanics, they're coming out, Dreadnought. This is what you wanted. You asked and you shall receive.
Now the question is okay, so let me ask for sustaining this lead, because as we've seen, that is probably the second challenge after gaining that first goal. Ghost doing a pretty good job of kind of keeping it in their control, even though it isn't in a centerpiece part of the game. A little bit high here. Follow up.
Oh.
No, we don't talk about it.
Don't mention it. Don't mention it.
Oh my.
Let's keep going. Nice little 50 there in the front of the midfield. Right now, I don't want to hear one talk about it.
Okay. I don't want to talk about it specifically, but I will indirectly. And now we need to ask ourselves, if we feel this way right now, what do you think that feels like down on the pitch, right? Like, that's your moment to possibly confirm this game after how things have been going. I can't help but feel like that's got to instill some panic. But at the same time, rough shot there. Jordan and Percy not double committing, maybe showing a bit more faith and fortitude, as the crossbar just denying a little bit of both halves here.
And you talked about panic. As soon as we had missed that open net on our defensive side, 2 players in the same position. Now not up in time, but Percy, the pre-jump save to keep us alive and in the lead. 1 minute and 45 seconds left. The defense is getting tested more than it has all game long, but Alpine are still holding on to this lead. Let's see if we can keep it up and finally not force those leads.
And then that save coming through there as well. Magic Bear finally breaking out of the Alpine half. Gets a reset. Denied by Mektos. It's going to send it back here, but finally an opportunity for Alpine to just not be on a constant defensive panic. Good job by Magic Bear, able to get it out. We've got 1 minute 15 left here. Alpine hold a lead, but I can't help but feel like I've seen this tale twice before, and it's not usually how it ends.
Getting deja vu right now, but as long as we can focus on the transition game and finding each other, I think whenever we do panic on the defense, we don't look for each other with our clears. We're like, okay, let's just get this ball out. Let's clear it to the other side. Hopefully our power will keep the clear as effective as possible. And now that's a good pass from the corner. Mektos, the diving save, still within a 1-goal game. And now he carries it out on the defense.
Jordan did end up getting a decent challenge there, allowing Percy to get back. Line Blaze almost with a shot opportunity. Magic there to meet him. Shot, double player on the backboard. Awkward pass over to Mektos. Jordan steps up to the plate in every way, shape, and or form this game.
I saw that ball roll across, and I thought it was over. Now Lion Blaze off the backboard. Are we going to get a save? Of course. Magic Bear in position, still going strong. 16 seconds left. This Alpine defense does not want to crack.
Jordan has absolutely taken the phrase manifest destiny in this game. The touch up, Magic Bear with the open net, and they secure game number 3 here for Alpine Esports.
We've got the wall built and set up on our goal line. We've got all 3 players I think have made a phenomenal stop. Magic Bear now in the final seconds. Jordan had read that scary, terrifying pass that went across our net. And then earlier on, first the free jump save, final 3 seconds. We're still in it. The reverse sweep has been started.
Gotta feel good for Alpine with how, I mean, again, bringing it back to that moment where Percy unable to get the touch over the defender that goes on goal, open net sitting there, and Jordan hits it a little bit too hard. Crossbar puts it down and out. And to still maintain the composure after how threatening the offense that was there from Ghost. Good signs there, but it should be noted that's only 1 5-minute session, and we still have potentially 2 left here for Alpine.
And there were still a lot of scary moments that I wouldn't want to rely on. Obviously, if you're a player, you're looking at this game and you're thinking, okay, we escaped with that one, but how many times can we continue to read those deadly passes across our net? If Ghost Gaming come out the next game and play the whole 5 minutes just like that, I'm not so sure we can hold on. There's got to be a faster challenge to the point where that opportunity doesn't even present itself for Ghost.
Yeah, I feel like that, and I also feel like I noted Ghost's offense was either 0 or 100. You either had all 3 players down on your half, or they were not looking to make something happen there. And I can't help but feel like you pointed out those transition goals, the wall save, the save into the wall touch, and at least put a shot on or a shot on the backboard. To me, it seems like they would be vulnerable and kind of susceptible to that level of play. And so I want to know, or hopefully see a little bit more of that coming out from Alpine when we do see what feels like the full court press coming out from Ghost.
Definitely. So let's see if we can handle
Talking about that.
Freshness. Oh my goodness. That's the pressure that you mentioned. We need to handle it. We need to handle it, Dreadnought. But what are we going to do when Freshness is after us?
Yeah, that was a great job by Freshness. I even believe he slowed down just a bit before hitting that jump into that bump onto Magic Bear to ensure that he really got him kind of out of the way. Mektos gets the clean shot on, and first time in this series, I believe, if I'm recalling correctly, that we've seen Ghost open up with a goal.
Changing the trend. That's got to feel good if you're Ghost. They got close to the buzzer beater in the previous game, even at a had a 0-second goal, which says that they're fired up and they're ready to go.
Oh.
But you know who's also fired up? Magic Bear. The pinch across. This pass was unbelievable.
Not only is the pass, but Jordan understanding to be able to pop that up right over the defender there. Well done. And this is, maybe I'm misremembering, but I almost feel like I've never seen this many Magic Bear to Jordan goals in a series in my life. That's about the fourth one from Alpine. Almost every goal it seems like they make is coming through that sequence, and I can't help but feel like that's got to be some kind of adjustments within the rotations.
I mean, normally in all of the grids that we've casted, a lot of times in regional events, it's either Jordan or Magic Bear that passed up to Percy. That's the connection. Percy does a great job of receiving passes pretty much from everybody on the roster, but finding that missing link, which is Jordan and Magic Bear being able to pass to each other, could be the difference. And it's definitely proven itself.
Oh,
Magic Bear is the fake.
The
flip
fake.
resets.
The fake.
Oh my! Hold on a second. Moment of silence for the Ghost game.
For the Ghost, yeah.
Wow! Oh, rest in peace. That has gotta hurt. Magic Bear, you maniac.
Very well done, and man, that last touch too from the defender who got faked, I feel like helped ensure that that was a goal, not just a really good pass as well. Talking about passes, one out to Freshness, sends it up high. Mektos comes through clean, good bump, or at least feigning a bump there from Freshness after that pass.
And that is so demoralizing because we just had a great play from Magic Bear. Now we come out and we're getting passed around from Ghost Gaming, still tied up 326. We thought we had a lead. We thought we had some kind of energy going out. Obviously still going to keep up the pace, but that one's got to hurt.
See what Alpine does here in response. First game in this series where we're trailing them rather than them trailing us. Hopefully it holds the same outcome as some of the other games where we see the reversal later. Percy sends it high. Jordan unable to find that bump there, but Magic actually decent shot opportunity. Not as much power as I can't help but feel like he wanted.
Oh, not the best day. I mean, actually not any contact from Percy, but works out. Magic Bear's got more space to get a flip reset. Maybe the double tap. I saw it coming. So did Ghost Gaming's defense, unfortunately, and now Lion Blaze and Freshness are doing some kind of voodoo magic trick on the offense. It doesn't work, but Jordan, it's transition after transition, Dreadnought, and it's an open net for Alpine as well.
Yeah, and that was what I was asking for originally was, you know, it seems like because Ghost Gaming's offense is 100 or 0, that those transition goals would be a little bit more prominent. I used the suggestion of, you know, the save into the sidewall touch, but just anything to, it seems like more open nets should be discovered on the side of Alpine with how much Ghost just throws themselves.
Well, I think we need a speedy clears. Jordan, if you pay attention to that last goal, he was so fast to get up to that ball and he smacked it with the front of his car, and he did the exact same thing here to get that pass out and get the dunk for Percy.
Well done, and Alpine for the first time finding a 2-goal lead in this series. No, I don't want to be the Debbie Downer of the squad.
Don't do it.
But I'm still not totally confident with 2 minutes 20 left that this is out of the grasp of Ghost.
I'm going to have to agree. I mean, pressure, the double commit right there still doesn't sell too much for the defense of Alpine. While we held on very strongly last game in the final few seconds, we know what Ghosts are capable of whenever we give them any ounce of an opportunity. They're going to take advantage. So we got to keep that defense tight-knit. But I don't want to see us let up the pressure. I don't want to see us stop clearing it like this, and I don't want to see Magic Bear stop getting those reads.
Yeah, he's doing a really good job keeping it on the other half. setting up Jordan for a weaker goal earlier, or at least shot on. Lion Blaze trying to come through there with a late dodge.
Feels like the only way Ghost Gaming are going to score on us is if they out mechanic us, but we have that. We have got that department on lock.
It appears that way, for the most part. I'm just so hesitant to gain confidence at this point with how Ghost has been performing. Midfield
like,
challenges.
It's once that clock goes down to 130, man, things just start to shift a little bit on the defense.
It does, and it can't help but feel like it feels like it isn't a mental thing more than it is really anything else. Even that bump comes through.
Oh,
that is something that Alpine's got to be considering. Good denial there of the final shot after Freshness got the second touch, but at the end of the day, every goal made far on the side. Oh, Magic even stole that. Every goal made so far by Ghost has been in this game through a bump play, or at least some form of it. So Alpine's definitely got to be keeping that in the back of their mind here as the series unfolds. But okay, now I'm starting to feel confident. I'm willing to say 3 goals with 50 is enough.
We just need one good kickoff, and there it is. Okay, that's all I was worried about. If we had conceded, maybe a simple kickoff goal, things could be scary. It's a nice little clear out. Mektos. This shot is where it counts. The save from Percy, that has got to be the difference maker. We're most likely going to take this game unless we just drop our controllers. Kudos to Alpine. 32 seconds left. Jordan still carrying this one out. Those clears off the backboard. Jordan, he just takes it himself, beats out one defender, and still might even force a 50 against the second.
Yeah, that second touch actually was pretty ridiculous, going for like a backflip almost to get it off. Mektos tries to go for a deep dunk there. Doesn't work out for them. Magic with a clever save, and I'm not gonna lie to you, the save was good. The recovery and control after was phenomenal. I have zero idea how Magic maintained possession of that ball after that save. But it leads us to a game number 5.
I'm not gonna lie. I wasn't sure we'd see a game 5 with the beginning. Coming into this series, I knew it was gonna be close. I said it was gonna go the distance, but my mentality shifted a bit after seeing the first 2 games and how they unwinded. I got a bit anxious for the boys, but it seems like they've calmed down their nerves. They've continued to stay aggressive as that game winds down, which is the big difference. Those clears didn't stop. Jordan still was confident off the backboard, was hitting every shot, and we end up taking a very, very heavy lead in this game.
The question is whether or not that can translate here to the 5th game. Momentum slightly swinging in favor of Alpine. That's the one thing that makes me feel good about this game number 5. But again, Ghost has had Alpine's number over these past few games. We'll see if they have it here today. Or excuse me, past few series that we played against them. But we'll see if they have it here today.
You were right, man. I mean, it is that trend of whichever team scores first somehow ends up choking. I mean, that really comes out here into fruition. So
do we hope for the second goal?
That's what I'm thinking. I feel like the second goal is the move so far in this series.
All right, Lion Blaze, just lock that one in and we'll call it a day. So far.
But I'll take a first goal for Alpine as well. I'm just saying. There's positives in both aspects, right? Because we did win that one game we scored first and held that on the defense.
That is true. So far, been pretty back and forth here in the opening minute. Mektos was not the greatest clear, but does get it over Magic there, and Percy not in position to take the pass afterwards. Does find a way to be able to send it deep. Challenge out of the corner. Sets up a pass opportunity. Jordan, huge bump on the Lion Blaze.
Yeah, and actually prevented a massive clear now. We can keep this pressure. They have to force an awkward clear. Now it goes back the other way. Nice little setup for Percy. And back to Magic Bear. How did Lion Blaze get a read on that? And now we're in a 2v1 situation. Freshness to Lion Blaze. The pass doesn't connect, and we stay alive. Now we're on the other end. This is back and forth counterattack, and we're the ones with the goal. We've done a total lap around the field, and it's Alpine who strike first.
Jordan saving that 2 versus 1 into that conversion.
What happened?
What a play here from Alpine.
That might be my favorite what 20 seconds of Rocket League I've seen in so long. It's
I mean,
back and forth. It's on their side. They reverse it for a counterattack. We say, no, you're not getting that. We're gonna get the counterattack and score.
yeah, that was amazing here. And setting Alpine up for the first goal. 3 minutes left. We'll see if Ghosts have anything to be able to respond, or if in fact Alpine will get their first victory over Ghosts in the last couple of series that they've ended up playing it against them. The fact they made it into Game 5, I feel like already sets the tone to be a little bit different than history is set.
Right.
Man, I still can't get over that moment though.
Oh, it was beautiful. It was a full lap. Like, we could be playing some kind of NASCAR simulation. We don't even know, because that just, the ball went completely in a loop around our pitch, and we're the ones who are able to hold on, get our defense together, and respond.
Still got creative passing plays coming out from Alpine here, as we saw Jordan trying to set one down for Percy. The defense of Ghosts has held on so far. A little awkward in the corner. Jordan's going to go ahead and send that one into a challenge. Magic takes the back wall, able to get a read on that one, so things are going to be okay for now. A little low on boost, but ooh, actually denies the boost and gets a bump. Dribble opportunity, freshness with the first fake works out there, but Percy able to get the deny and send it back.
Fine Blaze.
Oh my!
I saw the shot coming a mile away.
I did too, and I thought for a second he may have jumped a fraction too early to where that's gonna hit that post.
Yeah.
But nope, the precision is there. Lion Blaze ties things up.
And it's such a difficult spot to be in on the defense, because you don't even expect Lion Blaze to be on our side. That pass came out from, I think it might have been behind the midfield line. And they are ramping up the energy. This possession is something we haven't seen all game long. We're forcing these awkward clears. Thankfully, Jordan does turn. I like that turn. The confidence, and it results in a crossbar down, almost getting ourselves a goal, but we have looked to continue this pressure and possibly get that third goal.
And I love the trust there. I believe it was Percy on the ground, not trying to make any awkward touch, giving it over to Magic Bear afterwards. Oh my, Percy with the flip reset. Dish of the year. He straight scoops that thing.
Dude, that was insane. I didn't even know you could do that with a flip reset.
That was definitely a very unique nuance there.
Wow.
Didn't net anything for Alpine quite yet. Freshness with the back pass. Lion Blaze sends it deep. Mektos is going to be denied by Jordan. 1 minute left. Tied up 1-1 here in game number 5. Bumps in the midfield, send it deep, but it's results in a bump on a Magic Bear as well. And Alpine give over possession here to Ghost.
Again, this is the last series of our group. Game 5. We've seen overtime a couple of times today. Will we see it again? 35 seconds left. Alpine on the counterattack.
Percy sends that one deep. Lion Blaze here to the corner. Jordan shot on. Denied there by Lion Blaze. Good pinch upward. Percy not able to make something happen there maybe the way he wanted. Sends it over to Freshness. Magic gets it by one. Jordan is up. The double tap. Too high to be able to put that one in.
Oh no, not the counterattack. This could be our demise if Lion Blaze gets a solid play. Doesn't have any boost to make anything work. Now the 50 across. This is perfect setups for Percy to make something out of it.
Actually sends it over to Magic. Oh, and the denied down. OT here in game 5.
Okay, I'm sweating. I'm in the Alpine hoodie, but I'm still sweating, man. I'm scared. I don't like this situation, but I believe in the boys. We've had some great looks in those final few seconds. Let's see if there's any ounce of luck with those 50s.
Yeah, I'm going to say it now. No matter what way the series goes, definitely the best series of the night. Some great Rocket League here out on the pitch. Demo comes through for Mektos. Lion Blaze is deep in the goal. Not going to find a bump. Magic Bear does end up getting the clear here as we see it high and on the backboard there continuously on the side of Alpine.
Okay, that's the first challenge that we've had in a while, but Jordan too slow up. Now Percy, we are using a lot of boost to get these last second saves.
And that challenge is actually going to send out a pass to the midfield. Nobody there quite yet. Magic Bear with a weak touch sends it over to Lion Blaze. Lion Blaze goes up with it. Goes for the double touch. Denied there by Jordan. Mektos gets another pass opportunity. Freshness closes it out. You could see the backflip attempt coming out from, I believe it was Percy or Magic here on the ground.
Mekto's got a power slide in the corner. If we review this, if we clip this, rewatch that back, you can see Mektos' car had actually turned a little bit in that corner as he was power sliding to keep his angle approaching the ball, wrap it around. That pass was fantastic. I think that was one of the best ways to end out the series, even though we ended up taking the loss. Wow.
I don't know what to say.
That was one of the best series we've seen in quite some time.
Yeah.
Taking into account even the regional events, that was all around some great Rocket League. We had counterattacks, we had the individual plays, some good passing from Mektos too. What more could you ask right now? The only thing I think would be a W, but unfortunately we're not going to get that. It's because FDOT's on here. Here's our lucky charm. You know,
You're right. You're right.
I really think
And
that's it.
I would take a lot of the blame, if not all of the blame
It's all
here
your
for
fault,
that
man.
one.
It's all your
Yeah.
fault. You know, you carried me more than FDOT usually does as well in this cast. So I feel like that's kind of the bad vibes. Normally we're supposed to be worse than this. All right. Right now
Yeah,
you're not
yeah,
allowed to be
yeah.
this good.
We set a low bar so we can always surprise
Yes.
ourselves.
Thank
But
you.
my goodness, man, you are right. I feel like it was a basket or like cornucopia, if you will, of just different things in that game of Great Rocket League. Just an assortment of just a little bit of this, a little bit of that. I feel like the one thing you didn't touch up on that was outstanding, I feel like, was some of the backboard clears in play from both
Oh,
teams
yeah.
throughout that series as well. Was just very, very well done. And it's heartbreaking, clearly, as a fan and supporter of Alpine, to be able to see that go that way. But that is one of those few series that I do feel like you can look at and you go, you can't say you didn't leave it on the field, and that's almost more important than the result in and of
Yeah.
itself. And so that was really well done from both sides, and we continue to seem to struggle against Ghosts, but clearly not nearly as heavily in that last series as maybe has been in the past.
Yeah, and I agree 100%. And I think that started with all players on Alpine popping off on the backboard, getting those clears in. I think they showed a lot of mental fortitude. I think they were very determined to keep these series close. G2, the Knights, Ghost Gaming, GG's all around. And I just can't even wait for the next few matches of the grid. We've gotten ourselves prepared for regional event number 2. Things looking to be in favor of Alpine, and this grid isn't even over. We've got a whole nother day where we can try and make a run through the single elimination bracket.
Yeah, it will be exciting to see what we get again. I can't help but feel like the seeding last time, already had some strong opponents right out the gates. Likely going to be the case again tomorrow, but today's performance was strong enough that I do feel a lot more confident going into
Definitely.
tomorrow and going, what can we end up making happen? And with that, that is going to be, this part of the grid here so far, but we are going to go to a break. And when we come back, we continue our MNVL field trip. Ladies and gentlemen, we are going to have a show match here between some of the competitors of MNVL versus Magic Bear and Jordan. So stick with us.
that I've never been. When we dance again, all our trouble seems to fade away. This is how I feel when you take me to some places that I've never been. When we dance again, that I've never been, that I've never been, that I've never, ever, never, ever, 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 never been.
Walking on the moon. Walking on the moon.
Taste your happy place. It will change your groove when you're dancing on the moon, dancing on the moon. When we dance again, all our trouble seems to fade away. This is how I feel when you take me to some levels that I've never been. When we dance again, all our trouble seems to fade away. This is how I feel when you take me to some places that I've never been. When we dance that I've never been, that I've never been, that I've never, ever, never, ever, ever, never been.
Welcome back here, ladies and gentlemen. As we said here with the MNVL field trip, we had ourselves a show match, and one is about to go underway. It's supposed to be two of the players. Wait, our lobby is taking a minute here. But basically, we are going to have two players from the MNVL on each team, and then Magic Bear and Jordan going up against one another.
Ooh.
So really, I can't help but feel like this is definitely going to be the one that really defines some of the smack talk.
Oh,
Some of the
definitely.
comms from this point on. So we're getting that thing underway. Exciting to be able to have some of the MMVL players. So thank you very much for participating.
Yeah.
And I have no idea really what to say. There's no analysis to be had other than I'll say this: if El Bloop, I think it was Bloop. If El
Okay.
Bloop is on the pitch, I'm on his squad. That's who I'm rooting
Okay.
for.
Okay. So you're saying it's over. You see El Bloop the second his name appears.
It's done.
We're calling it. It's over.
It's done.
I might have to jump on that train because El Bloop, that sounds like probably one of the best nicknames I've ever heard. If there's one
It is pretty
username
good.
you're gonna go for, it's gonna go for that one. So there's a lot of responsibility and also bragging rights on the line here for Jordan and Magic Bear. Who do you
Yeah.
think is gonna take this one, just in terms of carrying? Who's got the bigger backpack?
I feel
Is it
like
El Bloop? Is it El Bloop? Maybe he has the biggest backpack.
I feel like I'd be more prone to going towards Jordan there, and that's
Okay.
purely from Magic is extremely obviously skilled, especially when it comes to some of his micro decisions
Okay.
that can enable goals. But if these players can team up against him and deny it, I can see the teamwork oriented mindset of Jordan paying off a little bit more in this situation. I think, but that also depends on the caliber
Right.
of the teammates, right?
So-
And these guys are good, but I don't know if they're Alpine Esports, RLCS
Ooh.
good.
So you're going for like the team support approach. You want Jordan just to feed his teammates, make sure he's getting them shots that he needs to, and he'll hold it down on defense. Magic Bear's probably going to go for more of an aggressive approach, try to
Yeah.
score most of the goals, I would say, and hope his teammates back him up on the defensive side. I think that's what we're going to see here.
Yeah, and I feel like in that situation, it's like, the standard kind of 1v1 mentality where it's
Yeah.
like if you end up going for the air dribble and missing, like how often is that going to work out in your favor? Because it's not like Jordan can't proceed to flip reset it back to your half and probably get it by the two defenders. So that's
Yeah.
what I'm leaning on. My hot take is Magic getting too eager. Now that being said, I can see Magic also like double resetting and double touching in the same actual play,
Yeah.
and that just being like a who's gonna ever save that kind of situation.
You know, well, there's nothing we can do. You know, I say we get Dreadnought out on the field one of these days. I would love to see it. I think that would be definitely one of my top 5 moments in Rocket League. But
I would be
come on.
running it down the proverbial myth. We don't need to lie about my skill level. I am
Please.
mediocre at best.
I believe in you though, F dot.
Thank you. Thank you.
Can you imagine? I actually did that on accident. But can we? I just want to go over again for anybody who doesn't know what MNVL, excuse me, and what their mission is. I think it's good to clarify this as we get into this game.
Yeah. Is that something you wanted to cover? Or you wanted
No,
me to talk about?
I think you're the expert here. I mean, I know a little bit of it, but nobody can explain it better.
Yeah, I mean, it's the Minnesota Varsity League, man. It's an esport ecosystem for multitude of games, Smash Bros, Rocket League, a plethora of them. A bunch of other ones, but I don't have the time to go through each and every one. But basically, having a year-round competition and ecosystem of a place to be a part of the community, be able to compete and develop yourself as an esport player, and something that, again, Alpine is proud to be a part of. So
Yeah.
glad to be able to support, and hopefully you guys enjoyed the show here for the field trip. Hopefully you guys enjoyed this show match. As to be honest, 45 seconds deep, no goal. I am surprised to say
I'm
the least.
impressed. Okay, Magic Bear starting off strong. It's the aggression we talked about earlier. He's at the front lines trying to go in after this 50 from King Jake, who actually bumped a player too. Maybe it was a fake. I love the idea of it though, and he sets up Magic Bear the best way possible.
Jordan drops the faking in the chat.
Oh, I hope we get trash talk out of the team chat. I would love to see that.
We do have El Bloop on the pitch though, and he's already down a goal. Jordan skirts it on by.
You mentioned El Bloop. This is the kind of magic you get when you say this man's name. He has that much of a power behind him. Jordan now the little scoop, like you said, nice little dribble. And I'm actually looking at King Jake. I saw people talking in the chat saying that he's kind of goated on the sticks a little bit. He's got some skill up his sleeve. I'm excited to see what kind of mechanics he pulls out.
I believe it was King's on blue team, correct? Yeah, it is.
Yeah.
King Jake and El Bloop both went for kind of the awkward fake in the midfield that actually enabled Jordan there. So I find it great that some of our immediate standout players having that awesome moment. But here we go. Magic Bear ends up moving it down.
It's a back pass too from Magic Bear. What kind of team synergy have we been seeing from blue team so far? Back passes, Lucid now going in for a full boost pad. King Jake keeping that pressure alive, and Jordan can't get a solid clear.
Look at it. He gets the pass out there, tries to get a dunk on Magic, but Magic able to read that and send it over to the corner. King Jake goes up, not quite the strike that maybe he was aspiring for. Jordan now with an opportunity, 16 boost is going to cause him to really not make much happen, but burns a lot on Magic as he sends over a pass. Sargent, not quite the connection he was hoping for there.
Oh, and that could be their demise. The corner play as Magic Bear styling on them, and King Jake, the connection in the midfield. Maybe this is a secret combo we didn't expect. King Jake, and it's from Lucid as well. A 3-man play. I almost called you F again. Dreadnought. What else do we need from these boys?
I mean, we don't need anything. These guys are popping off. King Jake closing it out there, though. After Magic setup, I think indicative of some of the tales you may have heard in the Twitch chat. Again, with a nice challenge there, even on Jordan on the wall.
It's really nice to see King Jake in position as well, knowing what Magic is going to do. I mean, you can tell he's able to read the game and the play rather well
Yeah.
to be in position. Now he's got to get the save, though, off the backboard. Could have been a double tap attempt, but El Bloop is there to put it back in the corner and hopefully keep possession.
Ooh, that's a risky challenge there from El Bloop. Luckily, Jordan, there's the third man able to save the day. El Bloop actually getting in a bit of a scuffle with Jordan, not typically in your best interest, but it doesn't cost him too much. Here's the ball just going flying thanks to that touch from Magic. Sends it deep. Jordan there once more.
Here's Jordan.
The reset. I don't actually think we got a full reset there. Yeah, I feel like he would have used the dodge at the end there, but it visually looked like it. I
was
wonder if he
waiting
opted
for
out.
it. Were you waiting for the flip as well?
Yeah, once he went for the arrow, right? Like, it was like, yeah, you just dodge into that. Oh, wait, Lucid. A little bit of a touch over the top of Jordan here.
Okay.
What went on? Sergeant Wonky living up to his name. I'm sorry, I said that out of love. I promise. That was just like, you can't have a name like Sergeant Wonky and a touch like that kind of go by you.
Did he get a touch? I don't think
No,
he got a touch.
no. But definitely putting up a fight here. Lucid gets an attempt.
It was still nice to see Lucid on the punishment game. This blue team pretty dominant with the punishment and also those team passing plays. We had that Lucid to Magic Bear to King Jake little interaction for their, I believe it was their second goal, excuse me. Now Magic Bear trying to get it clear. There's good pressure, but who's going to be the striker? It's Wonky to redeem himself and get the shot.
He heard me. He was like, can't be living up to that. I'm going to show
Yeah.
these kids what's up.
Let me
And
show
look
you the
at
real
that,
name.
dude. Actually,
real name.
opting, like, I feel like the lesser player there goes for a touch off his hood to just bump it up a little bit, but he
Yeah.
just straight put his nose up in the air and floated. Trusting in that Dominus corner.
It looked like it gave the ball a bit more time to fall under his car. Maybe fake out the opposition a little bit. But now we've got a 1-goal game, 1 minute and 8 seconds left. Now a huge clear. Still a chance for a save. I thought Jordan could have had a piece on it. But Magic Bear and King Jake simultaneously making this look so beautiful.
That was one of those moments in the solo queue experience where you get really upset at the guy taking your goal when it doesn't totally pinch in, and honestly almost canceled the momentum enough to be a problem, but works out there. And I think that really showcased what you were talking about before about King Jake and reading the field. The fact that he knew where that was going to go and able to play to it. Again, I think, you know, as you're learning the game of Rocket League, you can quickly see it's the player who sees a second ahead of what you see that can really stand out. And King Jake shown that he's got a bit of foresight here. 4-3.
Jordan was also flexing that muscle as well with the predictability aspect, making sure he had confused, I believe it was King Jake, on how to challenge the ball, because Jordan took a little stutter step, ended up faking out the defense. But
Lucid?
like I said, we're close. Lucid, he's dropped
no,
control.
he's
What's going on?
dreaming. He's dreaming.
He's gone.
Oh gosh. I guess that he couldn't be dreaming because technically should be able to activate even in his dreams by definition there. So I don't know what I'm aiming for on that one. Jordan sends it downfield. We're still without Lucid, boys.
We've got the 2v3 situation. They can hold on to this 1-goal lead. Magic Bear is still in the field. If there's one player to not drop the controller,
we got it back. We got it.
Magic. He's back. He's back in. Okay.
He's prepped. He's ready to score this. There was this touch over. No, Jordan gets the clear deep. Actually gets the dunk as well. El Bloop! Oh, sends it up the back wall.
Wonky.
Jordan, somebody.
Oh
4
my
seconds
goodness. What is
left.
going? What is happening?
Jordan's
it's a
over.
disaster. Oh, it's still up. Wonky.
Oh, Jordan in Wonky double committed. Magic with the touchdown. Lucid sending it back. He's ready to close it out. Misses the double touch. Oh, man. I'm not going to lie.
What were we going to see? I thought Lucid was going to come out and be like, you know what? I even went AFK on you guys, and I still got the W and the double tap. Unfortunately, we didn't get the double tap.
Unfortunately,
that was some game from King Jake, Magic Bear, and Lucid.
That was. I mean, to be honest, I'm a straight up say, you know, I'm not sure if I was the man down on the pitch there. That game would have looked less as like watch Magic Bear and Jordan just do their thing while I exist on the field. You know, like I made the joking comment about Wonky, which he did absolutely make me eat my words a little bit later. But I feel like I'd be out there more like that, you know, just like I hope I can make a couple of moves here because these guys are quick, but very well done. And I think, again, showcasing some of the competitive level here from some of the players down at the MNVL, trying to do the best.
Yeah, I mean, a massive shout out to El Bloop and Wonky on the other side of the field. I thought they played fantastic. They were keeping up pretty well with Jordan on the defense. They were able to rotate in, be in position, and this just goes to show you. I mean, this is a bunch of different players in the lobby who just love grinding this game, the esports, seeing everything about it. They're able to connect, and I think that even an event like this just goes a long way with the feeling of having a community and having somebody to support you, Dread.
Yeah, absolutely. And with that, it is not over yet. We just have to go to a quick commercial break so we can bring in Magic Bear and Jordan and ask some of the questions that you guys submitted to be have answered by the pro players themselves. So we are going to go ahead and do that, and then we will be sure to again continue our MMVL field trip here today. Thank you very much for all tuning in, and we'll see you in a bit.
Habits just like me. Talk too much with strangers. Get way too serious.
Welcome back here, ladies and gentlemen, here for the final time for the second week of the grid, except for our series tomorrow, I guess. But the final time here for today. We just watched the very pressing show match between Jordan and Magic Bear. And now to conclude our MNVL field trip, we're going to go ahead and field some of the questions that you guys had for them specifically. Is there any thoughts before we get into these questions that you guys want to say about that last show match? Any appreciation, flack, or anything else here, Jordan or Magic?
I want to show appreciation to my teammates. They were backing me up pretty well right there.
Magic, anything?
Me and my teammates just destroyed Jordan.
Well, it was good. It was a good time. And again, I know everybody at Alpine, and I'm sure the guys at MMVL are very, very appreciative of you guys taking the time to do this. So thank you. To look at some of the questions that you had, actually, one of the competitors in that last series had a question that they would like to throw over to you guys. And that question is from King Jake, who asked, what is your favorite custom training pack to warm up with? Let's go ahead with Jordan on this one. You got.
For me personally, I don't really use training packs that much. I play a lot of free play.
Okay. I think that's
Yeah.
fair. I think a lot of people definitely stick to a core free play. What about you, Magic? Do you have anything that kind of is your go-to?
Yeah, same. I just use free play, but back then when I was on PS4, I used to I used to play a lot of training packs, and the one that I would play a lot was like made by Sir Pancake or something like that, and it's just like it had like everything from like saves and like redirects and air dribbles and stuff like that.
Like a mix and match kind of thing?
Hmm.
I think, if I could just further that question a little bit more, what is it about free play, or like, do you have a goal when you guys do free play that you kind of aim for? Because I guess I'm asking that because I feel like that's, something that the players are seeking to figure out, like, how do I get better in the same way that you guys do? And I know when I do free play, like, my goal is to honestly just make sure that my understanding of where the ball is going to go and where my car is going to go is like what I want. Is there something else that you guys are aiming for whenever you do that?
Honestly, what free play gives you that training packs don't is the ability to like control the ball around the field. And with training packs, it's usually like you make one save or you make one shot. But with free play, you can just control the ball around the whole field pretty much.
I think that's fair. What about you, Magic?
And like another thing that like free play does that because the training doesn't, like for me, free play, like I can just mess around with the ball and then try to make it as awkward as possible for me, and that way, like I can learn how to adapt to situations like that are like happen in games sometimes, and
Yeah.
like custom training, it's just like straightforward and stuff. So like it's like yeah, like yeah, it's just like everything's there. So
Yeah, I feel like that's what I appreciate about free play a lot is that it gives you those, oh, I didn't mean to touch it like that, that in a training pack you could just reset, which you technically can in free play as well, but it basically changes the whole context of it. So I definitely see where you guys are there. And hopefully, King Jake, that helped you a little bit with what you were looking for there on that question. Are you guys prepared for serious question number 2 here? This one may be the most important question out of all the questions. This one is submitted by Sleepy Koala. And that question is, what is your favorite car design on a car in Rocket League?
I normally prefer no decal. I switch up the paint finish and the wheels a lot, but most of the time I prefer not having a decal.
Is there an-
I oh my bad.
No, you're good. You're good. Go ahead, Magic.
Yeah,
Sorry. I mainly prefer like painted decals, like the Fennec hard line or the Octane Obtruse, like those like clean decals with like painted on it. It's like my favorite.
Okay. Is there any reason why you don't like running with the decal, or is it just not your thing there, Jordan?
I feel like it just makes the car feel better a lot of the time.
Okay.
Like placebo, I guess.
I mean, I think that's fair. I definitely stick to the simple and clean look. Like when somebody's got a crazy bunch of decals, like and colors on their car, my brain starts to melt. I just go, I don't know, something about this I can't deal with. So I can appreciate the either no decal or it seems like Magic. You're a little bit more on the more simplified version of it as well. All right, we got question number 3 here, which is a little bit, which is super interesting. Actually, I seek some of the answers from this as well. I believe it's from Oakwin, and that question is: how much time do you spend in Rocket League per week, and then how does that change your daily routine? We'll start with Magic on this one first because we've started with Jordan on the last.
Usually like per week, usually I was like mainly playing like only like maybe 20 hours a week, and
Okay.
then like I don't know, I want to get that number up because I want to improve more than I have been, so I want to get that number up.
Okay. How does that change your daily routine at all? Like the amount of hours that you spend in the game and everything else?
I feel like that would just like change the amount of hours I spend in other games than anything else.
That's fair. What about for you, Jordan?
I think I spend about 40 hours a week or so in playing Rocket League, and I guess it really changes like the amount of time I get to spend with my friends and family, for sure.
Yeah. Do you guys have any like specific times other than scrims that you try to play, or is it kind of just whenever it's convenient or whenever you feel like it? Really?
I always try to play a few hours a day, for sure.
Hmm.
Yeah, other than scrims, I used to like try to play like an hour free play or like a few hours of ranked.
Okay. And this is way off the mark compared to some of those last questions here, but equally as relevant. Are you excited for the new game Cyberpunk 2077? That's coming out from. Sorry, the question is from Zyrant. But how do you guys feel about the hype train known as Cyberpunk?
I'm gonna be honest, I actually don't even know what that game is. Never
That's
heard of
fair.
it.
What about you, Magic?
Yeah, I don't know what that game is either.
That is amazing to me. It is like I think it's fair to not know what it is totally conceptually, but like to not even like if you guys not even heard of it like at
I
all.
think there was like a meme of it, right? With that like yellow picture with the black
Yeah.
text. But
Yeah, like
I didn't even bother to read that. I don't know.
okay. Okay, I think that I mean that's totally fine. To each their own, you know. It is yeah. I think chat says it in a way that it's the game that like Keanu Reeves was heavily like endorsing. Slash, I believe one of the characters are like modeled after him, for instance. That might be one of the other ways you would know about it. You can say who the hell is Keanu Reeves too.
No, I
You-
know who
I
that is,
know.
but like,
Yeah, it's
I just don't know the
Okay.
game.
All right. Well, that is it, I believe, when it comes to the questions. So I guess quickly, don't have to elaborate too much here if you guys don't want or anything. But is there anything, any notes, any perspective when it comes to the actual series of the day? Anything that you're looking forward to going in tomorrow?
I think we have to definitely close out our games better when we have leads, for sure.
Anything coming out from you, Magic?
Yeah, like we kind of threw some games, but hopefully like tomorrow we'll be able to learn from that and close them up.
Yeah, it'll be exciting to watch. And today is just seeding. Granted, it does make tomorrow maybe a little bit harder, a little bit faster than you would like, but at the end of the day, not too overly relevant over things. So, with that, I guess Jordan, do you have any shout outs or anything that you would like to say before we close out tonight?
Shout out to my mom and shout out to my Twitch channel, twitch.tv/JordanLOL.
Oh man, this man? He seems like he's done that before. Look at that! My goodness. What about you, Magic? Any shout outs you want to give?
Shout out to my close friends and my family, and my Twitter, which is at Magic Bear, and my Twitch at Magic Bear RL. There you go.
You want to give me that one more time? What's your Twitter and Twitch?
At Magic Bear is my Twitter, and Twitch is Magic Bear RL.
That is probably my least favorite thing on planet Earth when I was playing is like having my handle be one thing, my Twitch being another, and being like, yeah, if you care about YouTube, it's like a completely different thing. Super hard, man. That branding, super, super important. Well, thank you very much for again doing the show match, taking these questions. And with that, we're going to close out the grid here for day number 1. And hopefully each and every one of you tuning in today, excuse me, today want to tune in with us tomorrow. Again, thank you everybody coming over from the MNVL. If this is your first time hearing about it, you can check out a little bit earlier in the VOD, the ecosystem, to be able to compete in Minnesota high school esports, and something that Alpine's happy to be a part of. So thank you again, Magic and Jordan. It means a lot that you guys were willing to help out, and we'll see everybody here tomorrow.